Chapter 44-48. With Lin Ya's order, Messiah immediately stood up. With a serious expression, she led her men to the room where Suyu had appeared. On the way, she bumped into Huamin, who was taking a walk with his belly puffed out. "Messiah, where are you going? I'm dealing with a death row prisoner." "Miss Mian, you should go back to your room. You're pregnant, so it's not appropriate for you to wander around." After Messiah finished speaking, she hurriedly led her men through the long corridor towards the end. Huamin felt that Messiah's expression was a little strange, but he couldn't follow her. After all, no matter where she went, there were people following her, and her movements were extremely restricted. Messiah only brought 6 people with her. She had thought that Suyu was easy to deal with. After all, in this place, no one could use their abilities. However, this time, she had underestimated Suyu's abilities. In the white crystal room, Suyu gradually woke up and stood up. First, he touched the amulet around his neck. The white prayer beads his master had given him were also tied to the amulet. It was to remind himself that this was a dream, not reality. There was also the red peace rope his master had given him. The existence of these things made Suyu realize that he had come from reality to a dream. Master Wu had really existed. "And, are you okay? You look terrible." After Suyu woke up, he touched An's forehead. "I'm fine, boss. I just don't know what happened just now. I suddenly felt so uncomfortable that I wanted to die. I even vomited blood," before Suyu could say anything, and continued, "Boss, did you notice that ever since we came to the North Pole and were captured here, strange things have been happening? I was wondering where you were captured, but now you suddenly fell from the sky. I didn't even see how you got here. With a whoosh, you came back to me. Also, I suddenly vomited blood and almost died. It felt like someone was choking me. And naturally didn't know what was going on, but Suyu did. Just now, when Shaoan vomited blood, it was probably because Suyu had dragged Shaoan out of bed in the real world and almost killed him. Fortunately, he stopped in time. Otherwise, if he forcefully moved him, he would really die in the dream and in the real world." Suyu had also had many nightmares in his life. This included bumping into female ghosts, being chased by people, and all kinds of strange things. But this time, it was the scariest nightmare. What's scary is not what you see and what ghosts you see. What was even more frightening was that this nightmare made one unable to differentiate between reality and dream. Everyone was lost here. Even the extremely intelligent Qin Chu and Huamin were not spared. "Boss, what's wrong with you? Say something." Seeing that the boss was lost in thought, and reached out his hand and waved his finger in front of him. Suyu came back to his senses. "Shaoan, have you been locked up here ever since you came in?" Suyu asked. He wanted to ask if he could get more clues. "No, I almost died. Let me tell you. Fortunately, the professor saved me." "Professor?" Suyu frowned slightly. "Yeah, he said he's Goddess Lu Yan's biological father. And didn't know much." "Where is he?" "He left. He seems to be respected here. Unlike us, we are prisoners, but he's not. Those strange people wanted to kill me, but the professor saved me. I've been here guarding Goddess Lu Yan." "Lu Yan is here?" Suyu finally realized the key. Chapter 44-49. Seeing Suyu's surprise, and nodded. "Yeah, I was also very surprised when I saw Goddess Lu Yan. But I'm already very satisfied to be able to see her. Besides, I don't know if she'll wake up. It feels weird." With that, and pulled Suyu's arm and came to the crystal coffin. Suyu looked at the exquisite woman inside through the crystal coffin. It was indeed Lu Yan. But at this moment, she was so quiet. Was she dead, or she? Before Suyu could finish, and knew what he was going to ask. As expected of a master and servant for so many years. "Boss, don't worry. Boss, don't think too much. Goddess Lu Yan isn't dead. She's just in a coma. The professor didn't say much, and it's not convenient for me to ask. Now that we're all captured, I think there must be a conspiracy. I just hope that Goddess Lu Yen will be fine and wake up safely. If she wakes up, we'll be saved. I'm afraid her personality will turn this underwater palace upside down. And admired Lu Yen, as if there was nothing Lu Yen couldn't do. Therefore, and hoped that Lu Yen would wake up. Then, he would have another helper. However, what he didn't know was that even the professor couldn't save him, let alone Lu Yen. The only person who could save him was his boss, Suyu. Masterin, if we can get out safely, do you have any wishes? Suyu patted En's shoulder. He was sure that En wasn't a dream creator. This was because En had been with him almost all the time. There was nothing different about him. And in the real world, En had also entered the dream, so this En was definitely the real deal. Suyu used the elimination method to eliminate the remaining suspects one by one. Then, he filtered out the ones he suspected and killed them. After we get out? I want to eat hot pot, En said. Fuck, you're so useless. I thought you would say that you wanted to start a family and get married. En quickly shook his head. No, my boss isn't married, and neither am I. I want to be single with you for the rest of my life. Don't talk nonsense. How can you compare to me? I can find one at any time. I have money and looks. Even if I'm 60 years old, I have plenty of women. But you can't. You're already old. If you wait a few more years, you'll go bald and your kidneys won't work. How are you going to carry on the family line then? After saying that, Suyu couldn't help but hug Xiao An's neck and laugh. And, Xiao An had already given Suyu a good beating in his heart, but he could only think about it. After all, he was her boss. How could he really do it? His boss had been overbearing for many years. It was normal for him to offend the tiger occasionally. He would not lower himself to his level. Masterin, if you return safely, live a good life. Remember, get married and have children. Live an ordinary life. Being ordinary is a blessing. What do you mean I'll return safely? Aren't we together? En was not stupid. He could tell that something was wrong with Suyu's tone. Suyu was just about to answer when he heard noisy footsteps outside the door. Then, both of them became alert. Someone's here. They're not friendly, En said in a low voice. Masterin, if there's a conflict later, promise me one thing. Boss, what is it? Hide behind the crystal coffin. I'll deal with them. Fuck, how can I do that? I'm your bodyguard. En couldn't accept Suyu's order. This is an order. If you dare to disobey, I'll fire you right now. Suyu looked angry. Boss, are you serious? En gritted his teeth, looking conflicted. Get to the back. I promise I'll be fine. Suyu ordered En to move back again because En didn't know that he was dreaming. In such a short time, Suyu didn't have time to explain, so he decided to let En retreat first and deal with these flies himself. Chapter 4450. En also knew that his boss would never do something he wasn't confident in. Since he had said so, he must be prepared. After some hesitation, En quickly ran behind Lu Yan's crystal coffin and hid. Then, she heard the door being opened with a bang. Two monsters that looked like walking corpses rushed in. The reason why they were called monsters was because these things that looked like humans were almost all expressionless. It was impossible to tell if they were male or female because they were all bald and looked similar. When Huamin first arrived, he also found it terrifying. Later on, he thought that they were biochemical soldiers cloned by Linya, so he was used to it. Messiah was in the middle of this group of monsters. Go, kill him, Messiah said. Then, 6 biochemical soldiers rushed up and headed straight for Suyu. They were all holding extremely sharp military daggers. The first one to rush up held a dagger and stabbed it at Suyu's head. This was the rhythm of wanting his life. Suyu suddenly remembered what his master had told him. His return to the dream world would definitely attract the attention of the other 4 dream creators. They would think of ways to kill Suyu. Firstly, they didn't want him to cause trouble here and disrupt their plans. Secondly, Suyu knew too much and knew about reality and dreams. If he leaked it to others, it wouldn't be easy to proceed. That was why Master Wu said that as long as Suyu returned, he would definitely be hunted down by the 4 dream creators. As expected. However, because Master Wu had told him in advance, Suyu was already mentally prepared. When he fought with the biochemical soldiers, he used the moves he used when he was a special forces soldier. Although he didn't have any weapons, it was still easy for him to deal with these shrimp soldiers and crab generals. And also knew that once his boss got angry, he wasn't someone to be trifled with. Seeing the 6 biochemical soldiers being taken care of by Suyu one by one, Messiah's eyes gradually dimmed. "Come on, I'll play with you, old monster." Although Suyu didn't know Messiah's identity, he could tell from her clothes that she wasn't a soldier. Facing this old woman, Suyu only had 2 guesses. She was either a dream creator or a figment of a dream creator. Messiah took off her white cloak. She threw it on the ground. "You took off your clothes just because you can't beat me. Shameless." Suyu's words almost made him laugh out loud. He was wondering if his boss had to be so funny at such a critical moment. "Are you courting death?" Suyu's words obviously infuriated Messiah. After taking off her cloak, she took out a long whip. It was still the color of a snow-white crystal, and the material of a long whip. Every section was covered with spikes made of crystals. They looked very hard. If they were to be whipped on the body, the skin would probably split open. "Boss," Messiah T far behind him. Suyu didn't say anything. He just looked at Messiah calmly. Suddenly, before he could see how she moved, she appeared behind Suyu in an instant. Then, the crystal whip coiled around Suyu's neck viciously. How was this human speed? In the blink of an eye, she appeared behind Suyu, catching him off guard. Suyu suddenly thought of Layla, that monster. Chin Chu had shown him the video before. Layla's speed was heaven-defying. So this woman was also, boss. And was so scared that his heart was in his throat. Because those white crystal thorns were about to pierce Suyu's throat. Chapter 44-51. To be honest, being attacked in a dream was the same as being attacked in reality. The pain was also obvious, which was why people couldn't tell the difference. Master Wu was afraid that Suyu would forget his original intention and get lost in the dream. That was why she kept reminding Suyu that it was just a dream, just a dream. Suyu had always remembered it, so when the crystal thorns were about to pierce his throat, Suyu closed his eyes quietly. Then, he told himself that this was just a dream. At this moment, a miracle happened. Messiah wanted to finish off Suyu in a minute, but she realized that the thorns on the whip couldn't pierce through it all. Impossible. Messiah clearly didn't believe that anyone could resist her powerful whip. And was also dumbfounded. Was his boss wearing a super nano-transparent bulletproof vest? While Messiah was still in a daze, Suyu grabbed her ribs with a backhand grip. Then, there was a crack. In the quiet room, one could even hear the sound of bones breaking. Then, Messiah screamed, and the whip in her hand fell to the ground. It shattered into pieces. She retreated 3 meters back and leaned against Lu Yan's crystal coffin. At this moment, Suyu struck while the iron was hot. He took a step forward and kicked Messiah to the ground. Then, he punched her temple. Every punch was full of strength, and it was fatal. Whether she was a fictional character or a dream creator, Suyu didn't want to leave her alive. In a dream, there was no need for so much mercy and kindness. He just wanted to save his friends. After all, he only had one chance. And had never seen Suyu so crazy before. He was really scared. After fighting for 3 to 4 minutes, Messiah was completely motionless. And went out and stopped Suyu. "Boss, that's enough. That's enough. She's dead," and said. Only then did Suyu stop and gasp for breath. Just now, he was on the brink of death. Fortunately, he arrived in time. Suyu was not afraid of his own death. He was afraid that after he died, no one would be able to save his friends. That was why he was so nervous. Boss, are you all right? Shaoan patted Suyu's back gently. I'm fine. Suyu shook his head. Wow, you were amazing just now. That woman was so powerful, but she didn't even hurt you. Are you wearing some kind of protective film around your neck? After saying that, and touched Suyu's neck, unwilling to give up. That was bare skin, nothing at all. It can't be. If there's nothing, then just now you, carry Lu Yen on your back. We have to go. We can't stay here and wait for death. Suyu stood up. Where are we going? Boss. Let's go find Mion. Suyu knew that Mion was also imprisoned here, so he would definitely see her soon. And listened to Suyu's instructions and opened the crystal coffin. He carried the unconscious Lu Yen out of the room. Then, he carried her on his back. Suyu knew that if he killed this person, his master would not stop. These were just small scenes. The truly powerful ones had yet to appear. Just as they were about to walk out, Shaoan suddenly shouted. Boss, look. Suyu turned around and saw the corpse of the woman who had just died slowly withering. Then, in a few seconds, it turned into a pool of water. It was dark green and extremely disgusting. Fuck, what the hell is this? And was scared out of his wits. Chapter 44-52. Suyu was disgusted. He took a look and recalled what Master Wu had said to him in private. A person created by a dream creator would have green blood after death. After a normal person entered a dream and was killed, they would be in a normal corpse state. After a dream creator died, they would turn into red blood. So, this Messiah wasn't a dream creator? At the thought of this, Suyu was quite depressed. It wasn't easy for him to kill one, but she was just a figment of his imagination. Suyu felt like he had worked for nothing. Then, Suyu took advantage of the situation and walked out. And followed closely behind with Lu Yen on his back. Boss, what's going on? What are these things? Did we come to a monster's lair? The more Shaoan thought about it, the more he felt that there was something wrong with this place. Hence, his imagination started to run wild. There's no monster. Don't let your imagination run wild. I'll tell you the details later. Follow me first. Remember, be careful. After Suyu walked out with they passed through all the obstacles. Suyu didn't know where he got his strength from, but he killed these biochemical soldiers with one punch. It was comparable to fighting monsters in games. And was dazed. Linya naturally felt Messiah's death. Linya, who was standing in the hall, knew that Messiah had been killed by Suyu. Her eyes glowed red. This Suyu is pretty capable. Seems like he's been taught a lesson after escaping from here. Linya knew that Suyu wasn't lucky to be able to enter the dream a second time unscathed after escaping by accident. He must have received guidance from someone. Squad 7, listen up. Stop Suyu and his men and kill them all, Linya ordered the biochemical soldiers on the computer page. Miss Lu Yen is inside too. Should we kill her too? The leader of the biochemical soldiers asked. Obviously, the person who received the order was still worried. He was afraid that he would kill the wrong person and anger Linya. Unexpectedly, Linya didn't even think about it before saying, kill without mercy. As soon as Linya finished speaking, the door to the hall was pushed open. You're crazy. You even want to kill Xiaoyan. The professor was about to talk to Linya outside the door when he heard her order. He was furious. Lu Yen isn't my daughter to begin with. Didn't Mian tell you? Lu Yen was born from you and that clone Linya, so half of her genes are cloned, old Lu. Linya smiled devilishly. Professor Lu looked at her expression and slightly frowned. Ha ha ha, you look like you don't know anything. I guess your daughter didn't tell you the truth. Old Lu, we gave birth to Mian. After I left, the one who stayed by your side was a clone that I created. She looked exactly like me. She stayed by your side to confuse and deceive you. I can't believe you couldn't even tell that she was a clone. You even had a child with her. Huh, I'm so sad. Also, you treated that woman's body like a treasure and kept it in a cave in Iceland. How much do you love that monster? Linya kept calling him a monster, as if she was trying to agitate Professor Lu. She made him lose his mind. But the professor didn't fall for it. He calmly glanced at Linya's ferocious face. You're the monster, right? You just want the red demon. You destroyed our home and destroyed the best image of a mother in Yen and Mian's hearts. Linya, you're the most terrifying monster. So what? Linya raised her chin provocatively. Who are you working for? Professor Lu's eyes were sharp. Chapter 44-53. I want the red demon, Linya insisted. Don't lie to me. I've been with you for many years. Do you think I don't know what you're thinking? It can't be what you want. Even if you have such big ambitions, a woman is weak. You won't be able to use the red demon to its fullest potential. Tell me, is it the E or the M? Which country did you collude with? The local government or the rebels? It had to be said that the professor was smart to be able to remain so clear-headed at a time like this. Old Lu, you're thinking too much. I didn't. Linya refused to admit it. It's fine if you don't admit it. I don't want to ask. Now that things have come to this, we can't continue acting. But I'm warning you, Linya, if you dare to hurt my daughter. I guarantee that you won't be able to get the red demon. No one will be able to get it. If I die, no one in this world will know where the red demon is. Even if you get the Hera or, it's useless, as expected of the professor, even when he was angry, he didn't curse. However, the expression on his face was extremely dignified. Linya knew that this old man wasn't bluffing. The whole world knew how much he loved his daughter. Linya smiled slightly when she heard this. You still want to threaten me? Are you stupid? This is my territory. Old Lu. I should be the one warning you. If you don't take out the red demon, Lu Yen will die, Huamin will die, and all the children in Huamin's stomach will die. And this series of tragedies will all happen because of you. Linya's words put the professor in a dilemma. She thought that the old man's expression would change drastically after hearing this. After all, he loved his daughter as much as his life. Unfortunately, Professor Lu's expression remained the same as before. If you want to kill me, then kill me. It's good that we die together. Then, no one in this world will know the whereabouts of the red demon. And the three of us can reunite in the netherworld. From his words, it was obvious that the professor wasn't afraid of death. He wasn't even afraid that Lu Yen and Huamin would die. He was just afraid that Linya would play some dirty tricks. Of course, it was just like what the professor had said to Mian. She couldn't believe anything Linya said. Hee, you're very stubborn, Linya confronted the professor. And Qin Shu was on his way to the North Pole. However, Suyu was ordered to be killed by Linya, and he had to face thousands of troops. When Shaoan and Suyu passed through the corridor, they somehow ended up in an open space. It was like a very large room. There was nothing inside, only white crystals. It was very quiet inside, and even the sound of breathing could be heard. What's going on? It wasn't like this just now. Shaoan was confused again. Why did he feel that his surroundings were constantly changing? Don't panic. I'm here. Suyu looked around vigilantly. At this moment, the white crystal in front of them crumbled into pieces. That voice was very piercing. What was even more frightening was that after the white crystal shattered, what was behind it? It was a dense swarm of biochemical soldiers. These bio-soldiers were different from the ones Suyu had killed. Their faces were still wrapped in white cloth, which made them look like Egyptian mummies. The most terrifying thing was that there were so many of them. At a glance, there were countless of them. Fuck. Where did so many of them come from? We're going to be crippled. Shaoan was so scared that he quickly put Lu Yen on the ground and stood back to back with Su Yu. This was because they were surrounded by these unknown things that were eyeing them covetously. Su Yu took a few steps back and leaned close to Yan's ear. And, it's very important to remember something. This isn't real. It's just a dream. When we fight later, don't take it seriously. Chapter 44-54. Shaoan was still in a daze and hadn't reacted yet. Su Yu had already rushed forward. With the experience of killing Messiah the first time, Su Yu was no longer afraid of these monsters. It was as easy as pie. Just like the special effects in wuxia movies, he killed one with a single palm strike. Even An was dumbfounded by what he saw, although An didn't know what was going on. He saw that his boss had already rushed forward. He also rushed forward with all his might. At first, it wasn't bad. It was more than enough to deal with the biochemical soldiers. However, there were too many of them. After 10 minutes, An's stamina was running out, therefore, he asked Su Yu anxiously, "Boss, there are more and more of them. It's like we can't kill them all. We can't go on like this, I know. Come, pick up Lu Yen and hold my hand." Su Yu killed the one in front of him with one palm strike. Then, he ran to An and stretched out his hands. And held them with a dumbfounded expression. "And, close your eyes and think with me. We're going to Mion's side now, Dr. Hua, cut the crap. Close your eyes and think with me." And didn't know what was so good about imagining things, but since his boss said so, he would do as he was told. Otherwise, if he continued to kill these things here, even if he wasn't killed by them, he would die of exhaustion sooner or later. Therefore, An picked up Lu Yen with one hand and held Su Yu's hands with the other. Their thoughts became stronger and they began to imagine going to Hua Min's side. Thousands of biochemical soldiers suddenly rushed over. Just as they were about to touch Su Yu and An, the master and servant suddenly disappeared into thin air with the unconscious Lu Yen. All the biochemical soldiers were confused. They looked at each other, not knowing what was going on. The leader of the biochemical soldiers picked up his earpiece and reported to Linya. Master, the target disappeared into thin air. We don't know where he went." Impossible. Linya's emotions fluctuated when she heard that Su Yu had disappeared into thin air. This was a dream that she had created. Only she and the other 3 dream creators could do whatever they wanted. On the other hand, Su Yu was a real person, a muggle who entered the dream. How could he disappear into thin air? Therefore, when Linya heard all this, she found it hard to believe. The footsteps that were approaching the professor also stopped. Hua Min was in a bad mood in his room. She sat in front of the table and looked at the delicious food, but she didn't touch it. He felt as if something was bothering him. At this moment, 3 people suddenly appeared in the room out of thin air, causing her to be so shocked that her mouth could not close. It was true that Su Yu did not have any special abilities, but he could travel back and forth in his dreams and go where he wanted to go. This was all thanks to Master Wu's mental bead. Master Wu had given it to him in the real world. It would be more convenient for him to save it for escape or to find his friends. Unexpectedly, Su Yu was quick-witted and applied what he had learned. Moreover, he was very good at it. Shaoan was also stunned by his boss's powerful teleportation technique. And, Su Yu. Yen, Hua Min stood up with a whoosh. When he saw the 3 familiar faces, he was so excited that he didn't know what to say. "Mion, we're here to save you. Come with us." Su Yu panted as he walked forward and grabbed Hua Min's arm. "Wait a minute. How do I know that you guys aren't cloned by Linya?" Su Yu didn't expect Hua Min to not believe them. Chapter 44-55. Mion, at a time like this, you're still suspecting us? Su Yu looked helpless and aggrieved. "It's not that I'm suspecting you, but this place is too strange. Linya can even create Hua Xiqian, let alone you. I'm afraid that she'll do anything to achieve her goal, so don't blame me." Dr. Hua, we're real people, not clones. Look, we even saved Goddess Lu Yen. And tried his best to explain to Hua Min. Then, he showed him the unconscious Lu Yen. Where did you find Yen? Hua Min walked over with his big belly, knelt down beside Lu Yen, and touched her. Lu Yen wasn't dead, but she was temporarily unconscious. Hua Min checked her pulse again, just like before. First, she had taken some kind of drug and was unconscious due to poisoning. It seemed that Yen was real. However, she still didn't dare to believe Su Yu and so easily. It was in a room on the other side of the corridor. Goddess Lu Yen was in the coffin. After I was captured, I stayed with her in the coffin. President Su came to save us. We just encountered many biochemical soldiers. Those monsters were so scary. And was still in shock when he thought of the scene just now. Mian, how can you believe that we're not clones? Su Yu asked her. Hua Min didn't say anything, as if he was thinking about how to prove their identities. Then let me tell you something that happened between us. When I was first captured, I brought you to see me. I even ate roast duck with you, remember? Su Yu tried to use his previous memories to make Hua Min believe him. But, Hua Min said calmly, clones can share memories. I heard that Layla has all my memories, including what happened when I was young. She can remember everything clearly. What should we do? We're in an emergency. We can't stay here anymore. This is an illusion. I think once this place disintegrates, we'll all die here if we go out. What illusion? What disintegration? Hua Min seemed to think that Su Yu's words were extremely unreliable and confused. Mian, no matter how similar a clone is, it's not the original one. Layla is so similar to you and can even share your memories, but Qin Chu still saw through it. He's never touched her, let alone slept with her. Although I don't know you that, I can tell her abnormality, her gaze, her smell, and even, some of her micro-expressions are different. I believe that you can tell if An and I are clones or not. Hua Min looked at them but still didn't say anything. An and Su Yu were anxious. Dr. Hua, we're really not clones. We're really, and stomped his feet anxiously, but he didn't know how to explain it to Hua Min. At this moment, Su Yu said, you're in a dangerous situation now. I heard from An that the professor is here too. I know that supporting characters like An and I are definitely not the target of these people. They must be here to capture you, the professor, and Lu Yen. So, whether you believe us or not, you can't leave this place. Why don't you take a gamble and follow us? I'll take you out. How about that? You can get out. Hearing that Su Yu could get out of the underwater palace, Hua Min felt a glimmer of hope. She had been locked up here for the past few days and was about to go crazy. Even in her dreams, she wanted to leave this damn place. Chapter 44-56. Normally, Su Yu wouldn't dare to brag about this. After all, his ability was limited. But now, he knew that he was in a dream, and he had the thought bead from Master Wu. Just now, he successfully teleported An and Lu Yen with him, so he felt great. Of course, as long as you trust me, I can take you out of here now. So you wanted to leave with Hua Min, and the others. Otherwise, who knew what that old monster, Linya, would do? However, after hearing Su Yu's promise, Hua Min hesitated again. Mian, I've already said it so bluntly, but you still don't believe me? Even if I can save you, you still don't believe me? Su Yu was a little hurt. He thought that Hua Min was hesitating because he didn't trust him. And he couldn't immediately prove to Hua Min that he was the real Su Yu and not a clone. After a few seconds of silence, Hua Min slowly walked towards Su Yu. Then, he looked up into his eyes. The two of them stared at each other for a full 10 seconds. Hua Min smiled. Just by looking at your eyes, I can tell if you're the real Su Yu, so I definitely won't doubt you. But, I can't leave just like that. Mian, it's never too late to take revenge. Let's retreat first and think of a way to deal with this old monster later, okay? Suyu thought that Huamin wanted to fight it out with Linya. Unexpectedly, Huamin shook his head. No, I'm worried about my dad. Are you talking about the professor? Qin Chu had vaguely mentioned Huamin's background. He knew that she wasn't Hua Zhenghai and Yang Meirong's daughter. Yeah, Linya captured my dad and locked him up here. He's the person Linya wants the most. Mian, what if that father of yours is also a clone? Suyu was giving him a taste of his own medicine. Just now, Huamin suspected him, and now he was suspecting her father? However, it wasn't that Suyu was holding a grudge. It was just that in this place, anything could happen. The dream couldn't be explained in a few sentences, so Suyu used the word clone. Actually, he was afraid that this professor might be created by a dream creator. Wouldn't that be troublesome? No, I've seen Dad a few times. He's real, not a clone. Besides, what Linya wants the most is the thing in my dad's hands. She wouldn't be stupid enough to create a fake to get something out of him. A fake wouldn't know where that thing is. So, everyone here might be fake, except for my dad, because he's the key person. Although Huamin was pregnant, in the dream, she was in a dream, and had been under house arrest for many days. Her logical thinking was still very strong. Looking at her powerful aura, Suyu felt a sense of familiarity that he hadn't felt in a long time. In fact, after entering the dream for the second time, he felt strangely touched when he saw Huamin. Mian, you're right. According to your analysis, the professor can't be fake. However, I don't know the professor, so I can't use my mind to bring you to his side. So, let him stay behind to protect you. I'll go out and see if I can bring the professor here. As soon as Suyu finished speaking, Huamin shook her head. No, I can't let you go alone. Lin Ye's methods are very perverted. You'll be in danger. It's okay, I'm not afraid. I have magic treasures. Suyu looked at Huamin with a smile. There was a doting look in his eyes, just like in the past. All these years, Suyu only looked at Huamin with such affection. Chapter 44-57. I don't believe you either. You can either take us with you or stay here with us. In any case, we won't let you take the risk alone. Huamin's attitude was firm. He didn't want anything to happen to Suyu again. Thinking back to what happened in Yunnan, he still had lingering fears. However, what Huamin didn't know was that Suyu had returned to his dream. He was already putting himself in danger, and he would pay a heavy price. All right. Dr. Hua, you win. You're the biggest in the world. Suyu looked helpless, but his tone was full of affection. He didn't want to have a head-on conflict with Huamin, so Suyu decided to bring Huamin along to search for the professor in this mysterious underwater palace. Dr. Hua, you're so pregnant. It's not good for you to bump around. Why don't you let my boss carry you? And interjected nosily from the side. I'm fine with it. Ask your boss if he can carry me. I should weigh more than 140 pounds now. Huamian gloated over her misfortune. Forget it. You should walk by yourself. I'm afraid my waist will be crippled. On the surface, Suyu rejected him, but what he was thinking was, even if you weigh 240 pounds, as long as you let me carry you, as long as you ask, I'm willing to give you everything. However, Suyu wouldn't say such emotional words. In the past few years, in order not to make things difficult for Huamin, Suyu had never said anything overboard, emotional, or mushy. And all of this was because of his deep love for Huamin. At this moment, inside Suyu's mansion, Master Wu sat cross-legged on a white round cushion. On the bed were Suyu and An, both master and servant, who were fast asleep. Master Wu had already done what he was supposed to do and could have left. However, he was still worried even though he knew that Suyu would never come back this time. She still wanted to stay here and guard him. Firstly, he wanted to see if An would wake up and if Suyu could successfully save An. Secondly, he was afraid that someone would barge in and unknowingly move Suyu's body. If that happened, all his previous efforts would be wasted. Lady Su came at 9:00 in the evening. He kept a low profile and only brought a bodyguard and a chauffeur. It was late winter. Lady Su was wearing a long black down jacket and carrying a purple bag from a famous brand. She looked elegant and calm. When Suyu hurriedly brought the twins to her, she felt a little uneasy. She asked her son, but her son refused to say anything. The twins were tired from playing and fell asleep at around 8:00. So Lady Su changed her clothes and went out. She called Suyu first, but Suyu didn't answer. Later on, she asked about his whereabouts, and his subordinate said that Suyu had been in the villa the whole time. Such an abnormality made her very uneasy as a mother. Lady Su had the key to the villa, so she opened the door and entered. The villa was pitch black, and it didn't look like Suyu was at home. Lady Su entered the living room and turned on the lights. She was shocked to see a figure standing at the stairs. "Who are you?" "Hello, Lady Su. I'm Suyu's master." Master Wu was very calm. Why didn't I know my son had a master? Where did this swindler come from? Lady Su's words were sharp. However, when she saw the jade pendant on Master Wu's body that was similar to that of Nun Ci, she was shocked. Then, Master Wu briefly told Lady Su about the incubus, but he ignored the price Suyu had to pay for entering the dream a second time. At this moment, in the underwater palace, Suyu, Huamin, and the others were about to go out to look for the professor, but when they opened the door, they saw an unexpected person. Especially Huamin. When she saw the familiar figure standing at the door, she burst into tears. Chapter 44-58. President Qin, Suyu and Huamin didn't say anything. It was An who spoke first. Perhaps they didn't expect to see Qin Chu at such a critical moment. "We were just about to look for you, and you came. What a tacit understanding." Suyu smiled slightly. Looking at this king-like man, he felt a little bitter. It was just like every time he and Huamin had a little time alone, Qin Chu would appear. Huamin only had eyes for him. It would be a lie to say that he didn't feel bad. After all, Suyu was a human, not a god. His heart was soft. "Yes, I hired an expert. He gave me a way to find Mian." At this moment, Qin Chu was still grateful to that granny for the Miaojiang witchcraft and the concentric knot. He felt that otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to find Huamin so easily. After saying a few words, Suyu and unconsciously made way. Qin Chu stood at the door, wearing a thin black cotton jacket. His face was a little haggard, and he didn't even have time to shave. He looked at Huamin with a weary gaze, his heart filled with mixed feelings. Huamin looked into Qin Chu's eyes, and the two of them looked at each other for a full 30 seconds. The air seemed to have quietened down at that moment. Then, as soon as Huamian opened her mouth, her tears fell. She smiled and said, "I knew you would come to pick me up." After Huamin said this, Qin Chu's eyes were also wet with tears. He strode over. He hugged Huamin tightly in his arms. He didn't want to let go. Such a long-awaited reunion was always heart-wrenching. Qin Chu and Huamin didn't know that they were in a dream, so they hadn't seen each other for more than a month since they entered the dream in Yunnan. Qin Chu and Huamian loved each other so much. This month felt even longer than a year. Looking at the two of them hugging each other tightly, Suyu felt both gratified and sad. She was glad that she finally saw Qin Chu. After all, he was the person she had always wanted to see. What made him feel bad was that he could always see such a heart-wrenching scene. Anne's eyes turned red as he watched. "Originally, I didn't believe in love anymore after I was cheated by that woman. But, President Qin and Dr. Hua, the two of you are constantly showing off your love for each other, so I have no choice but to believe in love again. This is great. This is the most beautiful thing in the world." Shaoan was a boorish person and never knew how to say anything nice. However, after he said this, Suyu resonated with him. After hearing En's praise, Hua Min and Qin Chu looked at each other and smiled. I'm sorry, Mian. I'm a little late. I've frightened you. Qin Chu reached out his warm hand and stroked Hua Min's head. Then, he patted and comforted her as if he was coaxing a child. You're not late, you're just in time. Hua Min used the 30 seconds he spent looking into Qin Chu's eyes to determine if Qin Chu was the real deal or a clone. After all, anything was possible in this magical place. The clone could imitate everything exactly the same as the original, but there was one thing that it couldn't deceive. His eyes, especially his eyes that were filled with love. Therefore, in Qin Chu's eyes, Hua Min saw the love that had accumulated over so many years. The moment she saw Qin Chu, she suddenly felt that all the pain and suffering she had suffered before was worth it. Qin Chu, since you're here, I have a crazy idea. After seeing Qin Chu and Hua Min being intimate, Suyu suddenly had a suggestion. Qin Chu and Hua Min both turned their heads and looked at Suyu. What idea? Qin Chu knew that Suyu was as smart as him and Mian. Chapter 44-59. Suyu licked his lips and continued, since we have a lot of people now, why don't we take the opportunity to destroy this nest? Are you crazy, Suyu? Do you know how many biochemical soldiers there are here? Hua Min said. She had been imprisoned here for the longest time and had been to the most places. She had also seen the biochemical soldiers that Linya had cultivated. They were actually clones that hadn't been formed. Before Suyu could speak, Hua Min added, they have a lot of advanced weapons. I'm afraid we'll be slaughtered before we can do anything. Dr. Hua, you might not believe it, but our boss, just, tortured and killed a very powerful woman, and interrupted. Shaoan interrupted. Actually, he was a little selfish. He wanted to show off how powerful his boss was. Hua Min looked at Suyu in confusion. He didn't know who An was talking about. When I was first captured, I was eating roast duck with you. Then, do you remember the maid who was busy working beside you? If I remember correctly, her name should be Messiah. Suyu had a good memory. He tried hard to recall the first time he met Hua Min in the dream. It was indeed Messiah who had arranged everything. Linya had never appeared in front of Suyu. Oh my God, you killed Messiah. Hua Min was in disbelief. Messiah was obviously Linya's confidant, not a small fry. But Suyu had killed her. How did he do it? Not only that, our boss also killed many biochemical soldiers with his bare hands. It was a spectacular scene. And continued to praise proudly. Suyu, did you bring weapons in? Qin Chu looked at Suyu's face and asked calmly. Suyu shook his head. No weapons. Then how did you do it? Hua Min was still in disbelief. Suyu looked at Qin Chu and Hua Min. Then, he explained seriously, what I'm about to say might be a little too much information, but I know that with your brains, you'll definitely understand. So, listen carefully. This is very important. It's about our lives and deaths, and it's about everyone's lives. Suyu used about 5 minutes to briefly explain the matter. And had already heard the explanation of the dream once, so he wasn't so surprised this time. Qin Chu and Hua Min were indeed shocked. They never would have thought that their experiences in the past month, including the part in Yunnan, the part in the hospital, and the part with Layla, it was all a dream. Furthermore, they were still in a dream. Suyu, if it's really a dream, then we should have woken up when we realized that we were dreaming, just like when you escaped from the dream for the first time. Hua Min's brain circuit was indeed very strange, and his reaction was very fast. Suyu had asked Master Wu the same question. Therefore, he had to use Master Wu's original words to explain, I was able to escape because I realized that I was dreaming, and also because of the amulet and the Great Compassion Mantra. Then we can also chant the Great Compassion Mantra. Don't you still have the amulet with you? Hua Min looked at the little thing around Suyu's neck. Suyu shook his head. It's not that simple. My master said that I was able to escape because I'm not the main character here, so the dream creator didn't put much effort into me. But you're different. You're the key person. If you don't kill the dream creator, you won't be able to get out. No one will be able to get out. Then do you know how many dream creators are here now? Qin Chu was still a man of few words, but his questions were all important. Chapter 4460. 4. Suyu stretched out 4 fingers. 4. So many. Huamin frowned worriedly. Although Suyu had not mentioned the power of a dream creator, Huamin could feel it. To be able to weave such a big dream, make so many people enter the dream, and create a monster like Layla and Jingda, this dream creator must be extremely powerful. As expected, Suyu continued, dream creators are powerful in dreams. They are godlike existences. They can create many scenes, characters, and even strange things. If we are killed in the dream, we will die in reality as well, so creepy. And mumbled in a low voice. Suyu continued, but it's not like we don't have a way to deal with it. After I came back this time, I wanted to tell everyone how we were going to deal with them. My master said that a person's will is very strong. As long as you tell yourself that you are dreaming, you will think that whatever the dream creator does to you is fake. That way, you will not be hurt. The difficult thing is that the moment we are in danger, we will subconsciously take it seriously. Not many people can really think that they are dreaming, so we have to adjust our mentality. How do dream creators exist in dreams? Qin Chu asked Suyu. People like us. However, dream creators know how to disguise themselves. They might disguise themselves as people we know so that we can't do anything about it. Huamin pursed his lips. That's troublesome. How are we going to find them if this goes on? It's indeed difficult. That's why I wanted to discuss it with Qin Chu. Suyu looked at Qin Chu with trust in his eyes. That's not important anymore. How are we going to get out of here first? Logically speaking, as long as we don't split up, we can leave this place and return to our city with Suyu's prayer beads. However, the professor is still in Linya's hands. It will be difficult for us to find Linya. So, Suyu is right. Why don't we take the opportunity to turn the world upside down and make Linya's fictional palace completely collapse? Qin Chu obviously agreed with Suyu. Suyu was relieved to be recognized by Qin Chu. At least he wasn't suspected. When he came back this time, he told them about the dream. It was ridiculous. Even if Qin Chu and Huamin suspected him, he couldn't explain it clearly. But they didn't, they trusted Suyu unconditionally. This was what touched Suyu the most. Yes, no matter how many biochemical soldiers Linya has, it's useless. We have our ways. As long as we know it's a dream, we won't be hurt. When we get out, we'll kill them all and let that old witch Linya know that we're not pushovers for her to bully. Suyu was full of fighting spirit. Boss, what about Goddess Lu Yen? And carried the unconscious Lu Yen on his back. Mian, you support Lu Yen and walk between us. And then I will fight in the front. Qin Chu, you stay behind and protect Mian, Suyu instructed. Qin Chu nodded. At this moment, Suyu suddenly thought of something and took off the amulet around his neck. This time, the amulet was real. He had gotten it from his mother in the real world. He put the amulet around Huamin's neck. Take this with you. My master said that this thing is quite powerful. I remember that you're a Buddhist, so you know the Great Compassion Mantra, right? Remember to recite it when you're afraid and feel danger. Although it can't send you back to the real world, those monsters definitely can't do anything to you. Suyu, you should wear it. I can't take it. Huamin felt guilty. He didn't want to owe Suyu anymore, especially at such a critical moment. Chapter 4461. What are you talking about? I'm fine. I'm a man, so I don't need this. You're pregnant. Even if you don't think about yourself, you have to think about the child in your stomach. Right? Take it, don't dawdle with me. I hate it when you're hesitant. Suyu waved his hand and said casually. Huamin touched the amulet, an indescribable feeling in her heart. She felt that she owed Suyu too much in this life. She could repay what she owed Mr. Qin with her body and spend the rest of her life with him. But how was she going to repay what she owed Suyu? Seeing Huamin's conflicted expression, Qin Chu put his arm around her shoulder and comforted her softly. Suyu means well. Just wear it. With Qin Chu's words, Huamin felt less burdened. Because Mr. Qin wouldn't be jealous or misunderstand. The two of them wouldn't have a grudge over this. After spending a few years together, Qin Chu and Suyu had gone from being love rivals to friends. Although they didn't communicate much and didn't speak much, they still had a tacit understanding. Everything they did was to protect Huamin and the child. Qin Chu naturally knew what Suyu had done and appreciated his kindness. This was the magnanimous side of a man. Then let's rush out. Everyone, be careful. Then, Suyu and Qin Chu carried Huamin and the unconscious Lu Yan. They rushed out of the room. As expected, they immediately attracted the attention of Lin Ya's biochemical soldiers. Yet another fight was unavoidable, after knowing that it was a dream, and Qin Chu's movements were obviously faster and more accurate. The three men charged forward as if they had cheats and clearly had the upper hand. In the main hall, Linya, who was forcing the professor to ask for the red demon, was attracted by the monitor. She looked at it for a while and smiled. It's so lively. Qin Chu is here, and so is Suyu. And these little guys seem to have cheated. Interesting, interesting. The professor looked at the person on the screen and was a little worried. Huamin was in the middle of the group. With his big belly, he had to support Lu Yan. Obviously, he was a bit cumbersome. And more biochemical soldiers appeared. It was inevitable that there would be times when everyone would not be able to take care of themselves. One of the bio soldiers charged at Huamin with a sword in hand. The professor was scared out of his wits. He was afraid that his daughter would be in danger. At the critical moment, Huamin closed his eyes and chanted the incantation that Suyu had taught him. Strangely enough, the bio-soldiers around Huamin were instantly reduced to ashes. It disappeared in an instant, as if it had been attacked by some mysterious power. The few of them killed their way through and finally arrived at the entrance of the hall. Suyu's eyes turned red from the killing, and he kicked open the door. Then, he saw Linya standing high above the stairs. Old monster, we're here to deal with you. Die this time, Suyu cursed at Linya. Suyu, you're really lucky. However, you escaped and are willing to come back to die. Then I'll fulfill your wish. Linya smiled slightly and wiped the crystal ball in her hand. Suddenly, a black tiger with the size of an elephant appeared out of thin air in the middle of the hall. Its aura was especially powerful. That guy was 3 times the size of an ordinary tiger. The tiger roared angrily, causing their ears to hurt. Eris, go. Eat this arrogant brat. With Lin Ya's order, the black tiger immediately pounced at Suyu with bared fangs and brandished claws. Suyu instinctively should dodge, but he couldn't. Because Huamin was right behind him. If he dodged, the tiger would pounce on Huamin. Chapter 44-62. Suyu clenched his fists. Just as he was about to strengthen his consciousness so that the tiger would not be able to do anything, Qin Chu jumped up and stabbed the black tiger in the eye with the dagger in his hand. The tiger howled and covered its eyes with its huge claws. Suyu, take this. Let's play with it. Qin Chu handed him a dagger, and Suyu quickly caught it. Then, he understood what Qin Chu meant. Linya must have made up this perverted monster, for her to be able to create such a powerful beast out of thin air. It was obvious how powerful a dream creator Linya was. Therefore, the first dream creator appeared, Linya. It must be Linya. After all, she could create a black tiger out of thin air. If it was before, Qin Chu might have been surprised. After all, this was a ridiculous thing. But now, after Suyu told him the truth, Qin Chu heaved a sigh of relief. As long as he remembered that he was dreaming, even a top dream creator would be helpless. Therefore, Suyu's return with the truth was the greatest help to them. Qin Chu had a weapon on him, but of course, it was not convenient for him to carry anything else. Therefore, he only brought 2 daggers. One was for his own use, and the other was for Huamin's self-defense. However, at such a critical moment, he definitely couldn't watch Suyu fight the tiger. Therefore, this was the first time the 2 men had worked together. Huamin was still a little nervous. She held her breath and watched everything carefully. And, on the other hand, had been vigilantly watching over the unconscious Lu Yen. Then, he looked at his sleeping goddess with heartache. The subtext in his heart was, if my goddess wasn't asleep, she would have easily taken care of this tiger alone, right? Linya and the professor stood at the top of the hall. The professor looked calm, but he was still worried about Qin Chu. In his heart, Qin Chu and Xiao Fei were already the most outstanding son-in-law he recognized. He really didn't want them to get hurt in the slightest. At first, Linya was also watching the battle with Schadenfreude. She only wanted to see the scene of these ignorant juniors being eaten by the tiger. Unfortunately, it took Suyu and Qin Chu less than 5 minutes to deal with the black tiger. The professor also found a trick. When the tiger attacked them, they didn't even try to hide. Even if the tiger bit his arm, he didn't seem to feel any pain. It was as if these 2 men had turned on a cheat code. The black tiger's eyes were first pierced by Suyu and Qin Chu. Then, his throat and jaw were stabbed multiple times before he finally collapsed to the ground and died. Linya looked incredulous. She looked at Qin Chu and then at Suyu. No, it's impossible. You can't possibly have such great power. Speak, who helped you? If it was a second ago, Linya would have believed that Suyu was courting death by entering the dream for the second time. However, after seeing Suyu's shocking performance, Linya suspected that Suyu's dream wasn't that simple. Was he going to be the savior? Was he going to save everyone? Was he going to kill all the dream creators? The moment this terrifying thought appeared, Linya felt a chill run down her spine. No one is helping me. We're relying on ourselves. So what? You're afraid, old monster. Suyu smiled provocatively. Impossible. You guys can't even kill my biochemical soldiers. Linya obviously didn't believe Suyu. Stop nagging. I don't have time to waste on you. Linya, you're about to die. Do you have any last words? Suyu weighed the dagger in his hand, confident. Chapter 44-63. Then, Suyu looked up and smiled at Linya, releasing his aura. For the first time, Huamin realized that Suyu was a man who could control the situation. When he was outstanding, he didn't lose to Qin Chu at all. Nameless Junior, you overestimate yourself, Linya gritted her teeth and said word by word. If you're willing to tell me who's behind this, I can consider letting you go, Suyu coaxed. Ha ha ha, do you think I'm a fool? If we can't kill the dream creator, none of you will be able to get out. Will you let me go? What a joke. Do you think I'll believe your nonsense? Linya's smile was creepy and scary. Suyu remained calm and asked with a smile, so, you admit that you're a dream creator? Hearing this, Linya's expression changed slightly. Suyu, don't waste time with her. Let's go. Qin Chu reminded him in a low voice. With Suyu's reminder, the 2 of them worked together to kill the black tiger. Qin Chu was full of fighting spirit. He felt that it wouldn't be a problem to kill Linya while the iron was hot. Qin Chu's mind was very agile and he immediately grasped the main point. Even in a dream, you could ignore the harm others inflicted on you. If they stabbed you, you could block out the pain. Then, you could counterattack. If the other party died, then all the damage that was inflicted on you would be gone. Therefore, at this moment, Qin Chu was no longer afraid. He only wanted to work with Su Yu to deal with this terrifying woman. Mian, I'm your mother. Can you bear to watch me die, and let your man kill me? Linya suddenly played the emotional card. She looked at Huamin pitifully. Mian, don't be fooled by her. Su Yu was impatient and quickly reminded Huamin to stay awake. Huamin glanced at Linya. It doesn't matter if you're my biological mother or not. After what you did to me, Yen, and Dad, you're no longer my biological mother. Linya, wake up. We've stopped playing the family card a long time ago. Aren't you embarrassed? Huamin held his belly and stared at Linya without blinking. His aura was the same as before. Although there wasn't a single dirty word, every word was enjoyable to listen to. Dr. Hua, you're awesome. And gave Huamin a thumbs up from behind. After following Su Yu for so many years, Shaoan understood why Su Yu liked Huamin and only liked Huamin. This was because Huamin's magnanimity, composure, calmness, and the way she handled things was not something an ordinary girl could easily learn. This was the charm that came with her personality. No one could compare to her and she was unique in the world. At least, over the years, he had never found a woman who could do what Huamin did. TSK. Alright, if that's the case, then, after Linya finished speaking, she grabbed with her left hand. She sucked the professor to her side. Then, Linya's fingers wrapped around the professor's throat. She was so strong that the professor coughed repeatedly. Cough, 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 Dad, Dad. Qin Chu and Huamin shouted in unison. No one expected this woman to suddenly attack the professor. Linya, how could you attack a weak old man? Are you still human? Su Yu scolded in exasperation. Mian, your dad loves you so much. So, you should know where the red demon is, right? Tell me, or else. I guarantee that your dad will be separated from you forever in 3 seconds. Linya smiled at Huamin. She was using the professor's life to threaten Huamin into revealing the whereabouts of the red demon. This was also the first time Su Yu and Qin Chu had heard of what these people wanted, the red demon. Chapter 44-64. Linya had originally planned to use her original plan to slowly wear down this group of people's consciousness. Especially Huamin and Professor Lu. But to her surprise, Su Yu's return almost messed up the dream. First, he killed Messiah, then he killed thousands of her biochemical soldiers. This truly angered Linya, especially Qin Chu's sudden arrival. This greatly boosted the team's morale. Linya didn't want to beat around the bush with these children anymore. She might as well force them to reveal the whereabouts of the red demon and report to the big boss. That was why she wanted to use the professor's life to threaten Huamin. After all, no matter how heartless Huamin was, he wouldn't leave his biological father to die. However, Linya was wrong. Huamin really didn't know the whereabouts of the red demon. Not to mention Huamin, even if Lu Yen was still awake, she wouldn't know the whereabouts of the red demon. The professor's heart turned cold when he saw Linya's actions. Then, he said calmly, "Yeah, the children don't know the whereabouts of the red demon. Why are you doing this? They don't know, but don't you know? So, old Lu, is your life more important? Or is your things more important? Let me tell you, if you die, you'll really have nothing left. Your wealth and status will disappear, let alone your red demon. Think about it carefully. I don't have the patience to continue playing cat and mouse with you. I've been coaxing you and providing you and your father with food and drinks here, but you didn't take it. Don't blame me for being merciless today." Linya's words were extreme. Huamin was so angry that his stomach hurt. Huamin covered his stomach with one hand and frowned slightly. She believed that no mother in the world would be so cruel to her own child and husband. "Mian, what's wrong?" Qin Chu noticed that something was wrong with Huamin's expression and quickly went forward to support her. Huamin was so angry that he couldn't speak. He could only shake his head with a pale face. Suyu didn't know anything about the red demon, so he couldn't interrupt. And listened quietly from the side. Xiaoya, let me ask you one last time. Is the red demon really that important to you? Can you bear to abandon your family? Professor Lu's eyes seemed a little complicated, as if there were a lot of things in them. Unfortunately, Linya was too eager to get red demon to notice these details. Instead, he tightened his grip on the professor's neck. Cut the crap. If you don't tell me today, all of you will die here. You'll be the first to die. As soon as Linya finished speaking, the professor suddenly attacked. This palm strike actually sent Linya flying 5 to 6 meters away. Suyu, Qin Chu, and Huamin were all stunned. Professor, this is Taiji Fist. Even if you have never eaten pork, you must have seen pigs run. Suyu did not know much about China's martial arts. However, he knew a little about Taiji Fist, because Lord Su liked it very much. However, Suyu only knew that Taiji Fist was used to strengthen the body, but he didn't expect it to be so explosive. The professor's palm strike looked light. However, it sent Linya flying. Linya didn't seem to expect this weak-looking man to be so powerful. After landing, she got up and was about to secretly create some ferocious beasts to deal with these people. Oh no, she's going to form another seal. I wonder what she'll create? Suyu shouted to remind everyone. At this moment, something shocking happened. With a few muffled sounds, Linya fell to the ground. Everyone was dumbfounded, except for the professor. Chapter 44-65. What's going on? After a moment of silence, An spoke up. Without waiting for anyone to speak, the professor explained, I planted a small adhesive explosive on her body. Dad, you actually brought explosives with you? Oh my god, aren't you too powerful? Huamin was pleasantly surprised. I didn't bring it with me. I secretly made it after I came here. I felt that it would be useful. The professor looked indifferent. Huamin had made adhesive explosives before. However, he didn't do it as well as his father did. To put it bluntly, it was something like chewing gum. It could be stuck to various parts of a person's body when they weren't paying attention. Then, there was a small buffer time. Some were 10 seconds, while others were a few minutes. This depended on the dosage of the raw materials used during the production. Suyu was no stranger to this thing. Huamin had made one before, but it was extremely powerful. At that time, he had wanted to perish together with Huasiqian, so Suyu knew how powerful this thing was. Most importantly, no one saw when the professor made the move. However, when they saw the few bloody holes on Linya's body, they knew that there was more than one adhesive explosive on her body. Moreover, looking at the wounds, it was blown from the inside out. The area involved was very small, so it could only blow up Linya herself and not hurt anyone else. The professor even deliberately pushed her 5 to 6 meters away to maintain a safe distance. Dad, when did you do it? Qin Chu finally couldn't help but ask. When she was holding me hostage just now. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had such a good opportunity to get close to her. She's usually very vigilant. It seems that she was too smart this time. She wanted to hold you hostage, but she died here. Qin Chu sighed. At this moment, Linya's body began to slowly wither, just like when Messiah died. However, when Messiah died, she was a pool of green liquid. It was extremely disgusting. As for Linya, it was a pool of red blood. It looked very terrifying. Huamin was pregnant, so she couldn't stand it anymore. She turned her head and leaned on Qin Chu's shoulder. She's a dream creator. Seeing the pool of red blood, Suyu was very sure. Master Wu had told him how to tell a dream creator from a fictional one. I knew she wasn't Ya. Ya would never do anything to her family for some reason. Back then, when Mian was switched in Dong Tao Town, Ya was very regretful and guilty. She missed her daughter day and night. So, Maya would never do such a chilling thing. I was talking to her just now to distract her. Indeed, there was no sadness on the professor's face at all about Lin Ye's death. Because the professor seemed to have already decided that this was not the real Lin Ye. Ever since they were in Bali, the reason why he was able to follow her lead and beat her at her own game was to find his 2 missing daughters. Hua Min was not sad at all. He had no feelings for this woman, and after hearing that she was a dream creator, he hated her even more. She's indeed not the real Dr. Lin Ye. She's a dream creator, Qin Shu explained to the professor. Dream creator? The professor frowned slightly. Dad, have you heard of this profession? Hua Min looked at her father curiously. The professor nodded. Of course. When I was in America, I met one. The FBI has a dream creator. It's said that she's very powerful. She can pull people into dreams, and everything in the dream is created by her. I heard that there was a rich businessman in the United Arab Emirates who spent a lot of money to hire a dream creator to create a dream for him to see his wife who had been dead for many years. He slept in the dream for 3 days and spent a good time with his dead wife. This is not fake, we saw it with our own eyes. Chapter 44-66. When everyone heard this, they realized that the professor knew about dream creators. It seemed like they were really ignorant. Since the professor knows, Qin Shu, explain it to him briefly, Suyu said. Qin Shu nodded and told the professor about the situation. The professor nodded quietly. If it's a dream, then all of this makes sense. At this moment, there was a sound like an earthquake. Suddenly, the ground shook. Oh no, this place is going to collapse, because this place was created by Lin Ye. After Lin Ye died, everything here would turn into nothingness. The underwater palace and the white crystal were all fake, so this illusion was about to collapse. However, even though it was an illusion, if they were hit by these things, they would still be injured. If they were unlucky, they might even be smashed to death. At this critical moment, Suyu took out the prayer beads his master gave him. Everyone, come here. Everyone, pull my clothes. I'm going to take you out of here, Suyu shouted. Hearing Suyu's words, everyone gathered around him. And didn't forget to carry Lu Yan on his back, while Hua Min was in Qin Shu's arms. Then, everyone pulled on the corner of Suyu's clothes. Suyu closed his eyes and used his strong consciousness to think about where he was going. In an instant, the entire world fell silent. About 10 seconds later, they could no longer hear the sound of the underwater palace collapsing or the sound of the tsunami. There was also a familiar smell around them. Suyu was the first to open his eyes. When he saw his surroundings, he smiled. This was his home, Suyu's private mansion. Wow, we're home. That's great, boss. You're awesome. Give me a thumbs up. And was overjoyed when he saw the familiar environment. He was like a child who had been lost for a long time and finally found his home. Qin Shu and Hua Min heaved a sigh of relief when they saw this. They knew that this was Suyu's home, so they had returned to Sea City. It was the professor's first time here, so he looked around curiously. Dad, this is Suyu's private villa. We're back in Sea City, Hua Min said with a smile. This kid is quite capable. The professor looked at Suyu approvingly. Suyu scratched his head in embarrassment after being praised by the professor. You can say that. This isn't much of a skill. These were all given to me by my master. It seems that they are quite useful. Then, without waiting for the professor to speak, anxiously, and helped Lu Yan over. Professor, I heard you're very good at everything. Can you save Goddess Lu Yan? It's not a good idea for her to stay unconscious like this. And had been thinking about Lu Yan the whole time and couldn't wait to see her as soon as he came back. That's right, Dad. Yan must have fallen into that dream creator's trap. Now that she's dead, why isn't Yan awake? Could it be that the poison is too deep? Hua Min was also a little anxious. Don't worry. Help her lie down. Let me take a look. The professor asked him to help Lu Yan lie down on the sofa in the living room. Then, the professor took Lu Yan's pulse. Everyone held their breaths and waited for the results. They waited for about 20 to 30 seconds. The professor removed his hand from Lu Yan's wrist. Huamin asked, "Dad, what's going on? How's Yan doing?" And was also looking forward to it, afraid that something would happen to his goddess. Chapter 44-67. He's fine. Someone probably used a deep sleeping pill on him. I'll give him an antidote later. He should be able to wake up after resting for a day or two. That's great. Thank God, my goddess is finally fine. Huamin and An were the happiest when they heard that Lu Yan would wake up soon. After going through so much and coming back, the few of them were in a particularly complicated mood. I miss my daughters so much. No, I have to go home and see them now. Huamin was excited at the thought of seeing the twins. Mian, wait a minute, Suyu called out to her. What's wrong? Ahem. Listen to me first, ha. Suyu didn't dare to tell Huamin the truth. Suyu, did something happen to my baby? Don't scare me. Seeing Suyu's hesitation, Huamin's expression changed drastically. Qin Chu's expression also turned serious. Suyu had been busy explaining about the incubus and the dream creator. He didn't have time to talk about the twins. Although Suyu didn't have to say it, Suyu was a very honest person. He didn't want to lie. If Huamin and Qin Chu found out in the future, it would be troublesome. No, nothing happened. Don't think too much. Suyu waved his hand. Big brother, hurry up and tell me. My heart is about to jump out of my chest. Huamin touched his heart and felt that it was much faster than usual. He was afraid that he would hear bad news from Suyu. About this. I actually don't know how to say it. I think it's quite cruel. Suyu stammered. On the other hand, the professor continued and asked calmly, Little Su, is it possible that my twin granddaughters were actually made up in the dream? Suyu was surprised. How did you know? Judging from your expression, I guessed it. The professor looked calm. That's right. Suyu bit his lips nervously. Then, she secretly raised her head and peeked at Qin Chu and Huamin. As Suyu expected, Huamin would be sad, upset, and cry. Qin Chu would remain silent. But the truth was that Qin Chu was indeed very quiet and did not say a word. However, Huamin also fell silent. This made people even more worried. Huamin. Suyu looked at Huamin with heartache. Unexpectedly, the moment Huamin raised his head, he smiled. It was a smile from the bottom of his heart. Dr. Hua. And wanted to comfort him, but he didn't know what to say. Suyu, thank you for telling me. This is a good thing, Huamin said with a smile. Huh? Suyu didn't understand what she meant. However, Qin Chu immediately understood what Huamin was thinking. He put one arm around Huamin's shoulder, lowered his head, and said gently, Mian, what you mean is that since the daughters in the dream are fictional, it can only mean that our daughters are still in the real world and haven't entered the dream. Yes. I saw them in the real world. I was afraid that something would happen to them, so I brought them to my house and asked my mom to take care of them. So, don't worry. My old house is as well defended as a military zone. Suyu finally realized that it was a good thing for Huamin that the twins hadn't entered the dream. Although they couldn't see their real children, their children's safety was their greatest hope as parents. But, my daughters didn't enter the dream because they weren't targeted, or, is there another reason? Mr. Qin's mind was very sharp. The twins were able to resist being pulled into the dream, so it wasn't because the dream creator was merciful and deliberately let them go. Chapter 44-68. Suyu scratched his head. According to my master, Pudding, and Little Bean probably have something like an amulet that can ward off evil spirits. I thought about it carefully and realized that the only thing on these two kids is the jade gourd that Lu Yen gave them. Maybe there's something special about this gourd. That gourd was indeed blessed by an eminent monk, Huamin said. It seems like this nightmare is also an evil thing. It's afraid of a blessed jade gourd. Qin Chu nodded. He also understood why his daughter didn't enter the dream. Then, the children in the dream. The professor understood the gist of the story. They were created by dream creators, but they're harmless, just like our twins. Suyu said. But I sent them abroad. They're traveling with Ningning and Tang Chuan, Qin Chu said. That's good. Let's get away from here. We can use the remaining time to find the other 3 dream creators. The professor nodded. Dad, come home with me first. Even in the dream, we still have to go home. Huamin walked over with a smile and took the professor's hand. Then Yen. The professor was still reluctant to part with Lu Yen. I'll take good care of Goddess Lu Yen. I'll tell you as soon as she wakes up. And obviously didn't want Lu Yen to leave. Okay, let Yen rest here. I'll concoct the antidote. Then, the professor walked to the side and took out some bottles and jars he carried with him. After giving Lu Yen an injection, Huamin, Qin Chu, and the professor left Su Yu's mansion. Then, only Su Yu and An were left. Boss, are we still in a dream? What do you think? Su Yu rolled his eyes at An. I find it unbelievable. I feel like this is the same as the real world. It doesn't feel like a dream. Su Yu sighed slightly. That's why I said that dream creators are very powerful. Dr. Linya, logically speaking, should be a boss-level character. I thought it would be difficult to deal with her, but I didn't expect her to die so quickly. It's unexpectedly smooth. Shaoan recalled everything that had happened in the underwater palace and sighed. Su Yu, on the other hand, was deeply worried. Boss? I'm talking to you. Can't you hear me? What? Su Yu was indeed distracted. I say, that old witch in the underwater palace is too easy to deal with. Aren't all dream creators very powerful? I feel that. Linya is just a small character. The real powerful dream creator is still behind, or hidden. Boss, don't scare me. Things were getting more and more ridiculous. Shaoan did not dare to think about what would happen in the future. Forget it, I'm not going to think about it anymore. The more I think about it, the more tired I get. It wasn't easy for me to escape from that damned place. I need to rest for a while. Su Yu was really tired. When he came back this time, he went straight to the underwater palace. This was because Master Wu had used An's finger blood to connect him to the dream, so wherever An was, Su Yu would be there. Now that he had finally escaped, even though it was in a dream. However, when he thought about the biochemical soldiers and the black tiger, it was a false alarm. Su Yu felt his body go limp and weak. He decided to lie down on the sofa, and sent Lu Yen to the guest room and took good care of her. In the real world, when Lady Su heard Master Wu's words, tears streamed down her face. Her son didn't say anything about what had happened to him, nor did he mention anything about it when he returned home that day. Now that he was unconscious, Lady Su didn't know how to feel. Master Wu. After my son, Su Yu, enters the dream, will he be able to return safely with everyone? Lady Su asked Master Wu with tears in her eyes. Chapter 44-69. Although Master Wu didn't speak well and always liked to call Su Yu a stupid donkey, he was actually very soft-hearted. However, he was actually very soft-hearted and could not stand this kind of emotional scene. Hearing Mrs. Su's words, he also felt very sad. But he didn't want to lie to Lady Su. Madam, I can only tell you the truth. Su Yu returned to the dream this time. Firstly, if he wins and successfully kills the dream creator, everyone will be saved. Everyone who entered the dream will wake up, but Su Yu won't be able to come back. Secondly, if Suyu fails, he will be killed by the dream creator and won't be able to come back. These words were like a bolt from the blue, causing Lady Su's face to turn pale. You mean, no matter what the outcome is? My son can't come back, right? Lady Su's voice trembled slightly. The feeling of wanting to cry but not being able to do so was the worst. Yes. Master Wu was very sad and nodded with difficulty. Lady Su broke down instantly, looking at her unconscious son on the bed. She felt as if something was stuck in her heart and she couldn't breathe. Why did my son do this? Isn't it good to live well? Lady Su burst into tears. When the bodyguards and chauffeur outside heard that Madame was in a bad mood, they immediately rushed in, thinking that Madame was threatened. However, the moment they stepped in, they were scolded by Lady Su. Get out. These two words were filled with extreme anger. The bodyguards and chauffeur were so frightened that they quickly pushed her out, not daring to take another step in. Lady Su reached out and held her son's cold hand. She felt as if her heart was being sliced into pieces. In this world, no one cared more about Suyu than his mother. Lady Su wasn't in good health, and she only had one son in her life. But now, he was in such a state. Madam, take care of yourself. I believe Suyu doesn't want to see you like this either, Master Wu comforted her. He made such a cruel choice and didn't care about me, his father, and his grandpa's feelings. Why should I care about him? You, how could you do this to me? I'm so sad. Lady Su was crying so hard that Master Wu couldn't help but cry as well. After crying for a long time, her tears were almost dry. Then, Lady Su slowly got up and carefully covered Suyu with a small blanket. Master Wu. Madam. Can you think of a way to save my son? As long as you can help me save you, I'm willing to do anything. Even if it costs me 10 or 20 years of my life. Really, even if I die now, as long as my son is fine. With that, Lady Su gritted her teeth and knelt down. However, before her knees touched the floor, Master Wu supported her. Madam, what are you doing? Get up, Master Wu, you're Abbot Ci An's junior brother. I know that you're all otherworldly experts with unique skills. Please save my son. I only have one son. I can't lose him, madam, it's useless even if you beg me. Su Yu is my disciple. Although we've only been master and disciple for a few days, we're very close. I want to save Suyu more, but this is his own choice. Besides, I can't break through such a powerful nightmare. Really, even if my senior sister and I work together, we won't be able to break through this situation. Why don't we wait and see if a miracle happens? After hearing Master Wu's words, Lady Su's vision went dark and she fainted on the ground, in the dream. Suyu woke up in his private villa and felt a little flustered, as if something was bothering him. He took out his phone and called Qin Chu. Qin Chu, come out for a moment. I want to discuss something with you alone, he said. Chapter 4470. When Qin Chu received Suyu's call, he had just arrived at South Hill Manor. Huamin was exhausted, so he went to his room to rest. The professor went to the study and turned on his computer to look for information. Qin Chu drove Huamin's white Audi R8 out. They met at a small bar near Su Yu's house. It was the first time the two men met so formally, as if they were on a date. Su Yu arrived before Qin Chu and sat in a dark corner, waiting for him. Qin Chu was still wearing a black jacket, looking cold and aloof. Over here. Su Yu waved his hand, afraid that Qin Chu couldn't see him. Qin Chu walked over and sat across from Su Yu without saying a word. I'm sorry, you just got home and I had to make you come out. Su Yu, we've known each other for a few years. I know what kind of person you are. Don't be like a woman. Get to the point. Mr. Qin was still a man of few words, but every word he said hit the point. Su Yu didn't get angry at Qin Chu's teasing. Instead, he chuckled. You're making it sound like you're my girlfriend. You know me so well. Qin Chu, okay, let's stop messing around. I'm afraid you'll beat me up. Let's get down to business. I know everyone just got back. First, they're all exhausted. Second, they still need to get used to the things that happened in the incubus. Although it's a dream, many things aren't that different from reality. When I was in the real world, I couldn't contact anyone except for Pudding and Little Bean. So, I'm not sure if Tang Chuan, Qin Ning, Dr. Jiang, Wei Liao, Lingling, Gao Ran, and even your friends Rick and Cece are all in the dream. I'm pressed for time, so I can't confirm it. So? Qin Chu asked him calmly. Therefore, this is a very difficult problem. The two of us will distinguish them one by one. It would be fine if they were made up, but if they were hidden dream creators, then it would be difficult. Of course. I don't want to think that my good friend is one of those evil dream creators, but before I entered the dream, my master told me not to trust anyone easily. Then why do you believe me? Qin Chu continued to ask him. In fact, to be able to sit here and listen to Su Yu's words, one could tell how much trust Su Yu had in Qin Chu. Logically speaking, the relationship between Tang Chuan and Qin Chu was very subtle. They were not that close. On the other hand, he grew up with Tang Chuan and Wei Liao. If he was looking for help, he should be looking for them. Even if Tang Chuan was on vacation overseas with Qin Ning and the fictional twins. However, Wei Liao was still at home. However, Su Yu did not look for them. Instead, he contacted Qin Chu immediately. Qin Chu was more or less touched by this. However, he wasn't a person who was good at expressing himself, so he didn't tell Su Yu how relieved and touched he was. If I say it out loud, you might be jealous. Huh, I actually don't believe you. I believe in Mian. Mian is definitely real, and Mian believes in you. Mian has been with you for so many years. She has been with you since she was a teenager, so it's impossible that she doesn't know you. It's like when you met Layla, but you never trusted her. So, it's not because I believe in you, but because I believe in Mian, and Mian believes in you. That's why I believe in you. Su Yu's words were very roundabout, but Qin Chu immediately understood. He didn't say anything and just nodded. We don't have much time right now. In order to prevent the dream creators from making the first move, we have to find the dream creators first, Su Yu said. Do you have any suspects? Qin Chu picked up the wine glass in front of him, took a sip, and asked with his head lowered. Chapter 44-71. To be honest, no. That's why I'm very confused. I don't know who to talk to at this time. Anne's not very smart, Mian's pregnant and it's inconvenient. I'm not very familiar with the professor, so I can only look for you. No matter what the reason is, I have to thank you for trusting me, Su Yu. Sigh, let's not talk about this now. Killing the dream creators and letting all of you out is the right way. Su Yu was a little embarrassed. After all, it was rare to hear gratitude from Qin Chu. Qin Chu did not leave out the details of Su Yu's words. That was to let all of you out. He wasn't talking about us, or everyone, but all of you. However, Qin Chu did not ask Su Yu directly. I have a suspect, Qin Chu said quietly. Huh? Really? Who is it? I'm afraid you don't know him. I believe I can handle it myself. No, dream creators are very powerful. I have to go with you. Su Yu became vigilant. Qin Chu shook his head. If you go, they'll be on guard. It'll be harder for us to do it then. Leave it to me. I'll tell you when I'm done. Can you do it yourself? Su Yu was still worried. I'll be fine. Why don't you take my rosary beads? It can take you anywhere you want to go. If you're in danger, you can use it to escape. Su Yu reached out to take off the rosary beads around his neck, but Qin Chu stopped him. No need to trouble yourself, really. My willpower is still very strong. As long as I can remember that I'm dreaming, they can't do anything to me. Emicham, that's true. Be careful. Emicham, wait for my news. Chin Chu stood up, patted Su Yu's shoulder, and left. Working with Chin Chu made one feel inexplicably at ease. It was as if nothing could stop him. After meeting up with Chin Chu, Su Yu returned to his private villa and made a blueprint. Then, one by one, he analyzed all the people he had seen in the dream. Who was the most suspicious? Master Wu said that even if a dream creator hid their identity in the dream, they would definitely not be strangers. Therefore, this person must be someone he knew. Su Yu was actually not good at solving cases and reasoning. He could only slowly analyze it based on his own logic. Chin Chu, on the other hand, drove his sports car and sped to a place. At this moment, it was already late in Sea City. There was a knock on the door. After waiting for a long time, it was Ling. Brother Chin Chu, you're back so soon. Did you save Sister Mian? When Xiaoling saw Chin Chu, she was excited and smiled innocently. Emicham, I'm back. Where's Granny? Oh. Granny went downstairs to buy groceries. She wanted to stretch her muscles. I'm cooking, let's eat together. These are my specialties. These dishes are only available in Yunnan. I bought them online. Huh, you must have never eaten them before. Ling opened the door and warmly welcomed Chin Chu in. Actually, at this point, it was obvious. Since it was a dream, there was no Miaojiang witchcraft. There was no heart with you. It was just a dream. As a witchcraft master, Granny was the most suspicious, and this little girl was most likely a dream creator. Just like Messiah beside Linya. However, even if it was fictional, seeing how innocent and cute Ling was, no one could bear to do anything to her. At this moment, slow footsteps came from outside the door. A white-haired old lady with a hunched back pushed the door open and entered. Little Chin, you're back? Granny's expression was the same as usual. Chapter 44-72. Chin Chu nodded and didn't say anything else. He had always been like this, so it wasn't strange. Granny bowed as she entered with some vegetables and meat in her hands. Just like usual, he couldn't tell that she was a dream creator. If Su Yu hadn't entered the dream twice and brought him so much good news, Chin Chu probably wouldn't have thought of dream creators no matter how much he thought about it. Back then, he brought Granny and Ling back because of Huamin's promise. He felt that they had saved Mian's life when they were escaping in Yunnan. Later on, Granny and Ling came to him and told him about the Miaojiang incident. At that time, Chin Chu was already convinced. It was also because he missed his wife so much that he wanted to give it a try. Later on, when he saw that Granny was quite capable, Chin Chu was extremely grateful to them. He wanted to settle the two of them down after rescuing Mian and coming back. However, after Su Yu said that he was a dream creator, Chin Chu was enlightened. Even the incident in Yunnan was fake, so how could there be any Miaojiang sorcerers? Then, was the sudden appearance of these two people, their interference, and even instigated Chin Chu to go to the North Pole a conspiracy? Did Chin Chu really not want to think so badly of them? However, this was not the real world. They could be fictional, or they could be dream creators. The chances of a real person entering the dream were almost zero. After all, the dream creators had spent so much effort, it was impossible for them to let unrelated people enter the dream. Therefore, Chin Chu came here with a heavy heart. However, he didn't know if the grandmother and granddaughter could tell or if they were pretending not to know. They were quite enthusiastic about Chin Chu's arrival, especially the little girl. She happily wanted to cook and entertain Chin Chu. During the meal, the three of them sat at the table. Chin Chu didn't say anything as he looked at the food on the table. Brother Chin Chu, how's your sister Mian? Very good. Has the baby been born? Ling asked again. Not yet. Huh? No way, didn't you say that her due date has passed? Why hasn't she given birth yet? Xiaoling had a pair of chopsticks in her mouth, looking innocent and naive. Maybe she was in a bad mood after being locked up for too long. Plus, she's not feeling well, so her due date has been delayed. Chu could only calmly find a reason to explain to them. It's okay, it's okay. Mian is such a lucky child. She and the child will be fine. Her mother-in-law smiled, showing her teeth. She looked kind. Chu, on the other hand, began to plan in his heart when to make his move. The problem now was that he had confirmed that there was something wrong with them. They were dream creators or were created by dream creators. Only then could Chu make his move. If their corpses didn't change after being killed by Chu, it meant that they had entered the dream. But the possibility of that happening was very small. After killing Jingda, Chu was also in a strange mood. Although she knew that Jingda was a bad guy, she still felt terrible when he killed someone. Chu was different from Lu Yen and the others. Lu Yen was used to killing people and didn't feel anything. Chu wasn't used to this rhythm yet. After hearing what Siyu said, he knew that Jingda was just like Layla, an illusion. Therefore, it was the same as if he had never killed anyone. Brother Chu, is there something on your mind? Ling asked curiously when she saw that Chu hadn't smiled since he entered. While asking Chu, she also picked up some wild vegetables for him. She was really caring. Ling, what plans do you and Granny have for the future? Chu asked slowly. After Chu asked this question, Ling and Granny looked at each other strangely. Chapter 4473. Brother Chu, I plan to go to school in Hong Kong. Granny is staying here. I might need you and Sister Mian to take care of her in the future, but I know you guys are busy and don't have time to come over often. Sister Mian is going to give birth, so you can hire a nanny to take care of my grandma. She has some difficulties moving around, but I haven't thought about anything else. Ling was sharp-tongued and answered Chu's question directly. It was the same as what she had said before, without any flaws. Yes, that's why I'm here today. Ling, come with me to the company later and fill out the enrollment form. I hired a friend from Hong Kong to help you with your school matters. Wow, that's fast. Thank you, Brother Chu. Xiaoling smiled very happily. Granny kept her head down and ate without saying anything. Granny, I experienced some unbelievable things in the North Pole. Chu said. That's normal. That woman is a monster. Granny was probably talking about Linya. Granny, do you know Linya? Chu suddenly asked. Granny, who was about to pick up some food, trembled her wrist slightly. Little Chin, you're asking a silly question. How would I know her? Granny denied it. However, Chu continued to ask, then why did Linya tell me that she knows you? As soon as she finished speaking, her mother-in-law's expression immediately changed. She put down her chopsticks and glanced at Chu. Little Chin, are you here today, to denounce me? Granny, since you're so resourceful, you should know that Linya is dead. Before she died, she did say something to me. I don't understand, so I came to ask you. I really don't know Linya. How can I believe the words of a monster? Little Chin, you look like a smart person. Why are you so foolish to believe the words of a bad person and not me? Obviously, the old woman refused to admit that she knew Linya. When Ling saw this, she quickly explained for her grandma, Brother Chu, you can't misunderstand my grandma. If my grandma didn't help you find her, you wouldn't know where Sister Mian is being held. Did someone say something to you? You don't look like such a muddle-headed person. No, Chu said. Little Chin, I can see some things from your divination. Recently, there's a young man by your side who has a good relationship with you. You believe everything he says. But have you thought about what if he's lying? What if he wants you to deal with me? You have to know that if I die, no one will be able to help you anymore. Chu to speak to her to the points to this granny was indeed not to be underestimated. Her words made Qin Chu suck in a breath of cold air. It was obvious that she was trying to frame Suyu. Little Qin, you have to know that those monsters are very powerful. They could even disguise as your wife, so it's normal for them to disguise as your friend. Anyway, don't believe anything that person says. He's the one who's going to hurt you. Linya is just a small fry. I did a divination this morning and knew that there would be rumors. It seems that it was true. If you don't believe me, just fight me. I'm just an old lady and I can't beat you. I can't fight back either. I'm innocent. With that, the old lady tilted her neck and made up her mind to checkmate Qin Chu. Ling also looked aggrieved. Brother Qin Chu, don't be bewitched by that bitch. Grandma and I have done so much for you, but you don't believe us? Qin Chu clenched his fists when he heard this. Chapter 44-74. Seeing that Qin Chu didn't say anything, the old lady used an even more ruthless move. While Qin Chu wasn't paying attention, she picked up the iron fork on the table. Then, she prepared to stab her own neck. Fortunately, Qin Chu was very close to her and stopped her in time. Otherwise, blood might really splatter on the spot. Grandma, what are you doing? Ling was so scared that her face turned pale. She stood up with a whoosh and ran over, hugging the old lady tightly. I've lived for so long. I've endured everything, but I can't stand being wronged. It's obvious that little Qin doesn't believe me. Then, I'll use my death to prove my innocence, right? When the old lady said this, she was full of righteousness and iron bones. She made it sound like Qin Chu was extremely unreasonable. Brother Qin Chu, what are you doing? Do you really want to force my grandma to death? Then I might as well die with her. With that, Ling went to force the iron fork again. However, Qin Chu dodged it. Xiao Ling, don't make a fuss. I was wrong to suspect Granny just now. I was bewitched by a scoundrel. I thought it through just now. Granny has helped me so much. How could she be a person with evil intentions? I was confused for a moment. I apologize to you, Granny. Please don't be angry with me. This is a special time. Too many things have happened recently. My brain is really not working well. Seeing that Qin Chu's attitude had softened, Granny and Ling looked at each other meaningfully. Then, Granny also eased up a lot. How could I blame you? Young people are young and impetuous, so it's inevitable that they would listen to rumors. I can understand all this. However, I'm not trying to scare you. Let me tell you, little Qin, the man beside you who spread rumors and encouraged you to suspect us. He's the one with evil intentions and wants to stir up trouble. If we don't get rid of him, you and your wife will be in endless danger in the future. Qin Chu knew that the old lady was talking about Suyu. Really? Granny. What should I do? Qin Chu pretended to be serious. It's best to kill them directly. Of course, I know it's difficult for you. After all, you're a kind child. But if you don't kill them, there will be endless trouble. Your wife is about to give birth, so you have to think more about your family. Alright, I'll keep your words in mind. I'll think about it. Yes. The old lady nodded. I'm almost done eating. I'll go back first. Oh right, Ling, come with me. We can talk about the school. That person is still waiting at my company. Okay, Brother Qin Chu, I'll go with you. Grandma, you sleep at home for a while. I'll be back soon. Xiao Ling then changed into a new set of clothes and happily followed Qin Chu. When Qin Chu and Xiao Ling went downstairs, the old lady was still standing behind the curtains upstairs, secretly watching them. Just now, she was almost exposed by Qin Chu. Fortunately, she and Xiao Ling put on a pitiful act. She managed to fool Qin Chu with her lies. Both Xiao Ling and Granny could tell that Qin Chu's only flaw was that he wasn't ruthless enough. He had to be merciful in everything he did. That was why they used this to stir up trouble. However, it was indeed useful. Not only did they dispel Qin Chu's suspicions about them, but they also targeted Suyu. They were killing two birds with one stone. GK headquarters, Brother Qin Chu, where is that person? In the guest room. I'll take you there. Qin Chu quietly led Xiaoling to a small guest room on the top floor. Qin Chu opened the door for Xiaoling like a gentleman and let her in. As soon as the girl stepped in, she suddenly felt a chill on her waist. Then, she turned around and looked at Qin Chu in surprise. You. Before she could say anything, the sharp pain on her waist made her frown even more. Chapter 44-75. Qin Chu locked the door and tightened his grip on the dagger. This time, it was so strong that it almost pierced through the girl's entire waist. Then, Qin Chu pulled out his knife. Blood splattered all over his body. With a clang, Qin Chu threw the dagger to the ground, making a crisp sound. Then, he took out a white handkerchief from his pocket. He slowly wiped his hands and said, "You acted well just now. If it were anyone else, they might have been fooled by you. Since you could tell, why didn't you attack Granny?" Xiaoling covered the fatal wound on her waist and looked at Qin Chu with a pale face in disbelief. After all, she didn't expect the plot to turn around so quickly. Qin Chu looked up, stared into her eyes, and said word by word, "Why would I do that to my mother-in-law? After all, she's just a puppet, and you are the dream creator." "Huh, what are you talking about? I don't understand." Ling forced a smile. "You're about to die, why are you still pretending?" Qin Chu looked at the girl mercilessly. The moment she was caught off guard, Qin Chu had already put all his eggs in one basket, and his intuition had always been sharp. When he first went to look for the grandmother and granddaughter, he had indeed planned to attack Granny. After all, killing the dream creator first was the right way to go. This was because once the dream creator died, the puppet would automatically collapse and cracks would appear in the dream world. Therefore, at the beginning, Qin Chu thought that as long as he killed the old lady, Ling would naturally break through. However, this idea changed after he went there. This was because Qin Chu realized that Ling was a person who disguised herself very well. She always looked harmless and innocent. She always called him Big Brother Qin Chu so sweetly. Those who didn't know better would think that she was a cute girl. However, Qin Chu noticed that every time the old lady spoke to Qin Chu, she would intentionally or unintentionally make eye contact with Ling when she was feeling unsure. Furthermore, Qin Chu had observed that the old lady was clearly afraid of Xiao Ling during their interaction. It seemed like a subordinate asking for his superior's opinion. That gaze, Qin Chu had caught such a gaze at least 3 times when he was at their place just now. Therefore, Qin Chu later changed his plan and did not intend to do anything to the old woman. This way, he could beat them at their own game and dispel their suspicions about Qin Chu. As expected, Xiao Ling did not guard against Qin Chu. That was why he was able to succeed so easily. The dagger was the one Qin Chu always carried with him. The timing of the attack was also when Xiao Ling entered the door, when she was the least vigilant. As for the two of them trying to sow discord and make Qin Chu suspect Suyu, that doesn't exist. Suyu took the risk to enter the dream a second time just to save everyone. How could Qin Chu have the heart to doubt such an unyielding man? Seeing that Qin Chu had already guessed her identity, Xiaoling decided not to pretend anymore. Instead, she sneered, "You live up to your reputation as a genius. You're indeed not an ordinary person. But do you really think you can kill me with a dagger? Don't forget that in the dream, we call the shots. We're the dream creators. So what if you're a dream creator? Linya was still killed by us." Qin Chu's casual words angered Xiao Ling. "That's because she's stupid. She was set up by you guys. I won't show mercy. Just wait and see." As Xiao Ling spoke, she formed a seal with both hands. Who knew what she was going to conjure? However, there was no reaction after she formed the seal. "It's not working, is it?" Qin Chu sneered and asked her. Qin Chu, what did you do to me? Xiao Ling's eyes were slightly frightened. Chapter 4476. Actually, I didn't do much. I just added some ingredients to the dagger. How is it? Does it taste good? After Ling's hand seals failed, she realized that she was really afraid. Qin Chu, don't kill me. I'll send you out. Seeing that the situation was not good for her, Ling immediately negotiated with Qin Chu. The wound she was covering was still bleeding. Qin Chu knew that when Xiaoling said go out, she must mean leave the dream. Oh. You can send me out. What about my wife? My strength is limited. I can only send you and your wife out. What about the others? Everyone else can only leave it to fate. Qin Chu, every man for himself. If you agree to me, we'll all be happy. If you don't, you might not be able to leave this place for the rest of your lives and die in your dreams. Ling tried to coax and threaten him. Unfortunately, Qin Chu didn't fall for it. Mian and I will go out and leave everyone to die. This is not my style. All of us have the same goal. Find all the dream creators and kill them. Linya is the first, and you are the second. With that, Qin Chu took out a silenced pistol from behind him. Qin Chu, you will regret this. Bang, 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 3 very weak muffled sounds. 3 bloody holes appeared in Ling's chest. Then, she died instantly. After Ling died, her body turned into a pool of red blood. Su Yu had said that she was a dream creator. As for the old woman, there was no need to care about her. As long as the dream creator died, the puppet would automatically collapse. It was just like how after Linya died, Qin Chu returned to find that Layla, who he had imprisoned in the villa in the suburbs, had turned into nothingness. This was the best way to deal with a dream creator. Then, Qin Chu took a photo and sent it to Su Yu on WeChat. Su Yu, you killed a dream creator? Qin Chu, yes. Su Yu, is it that old lady? Qin Chu, no, it's her granddaughter, Xiaoling. Su Yu, damn. That's really shocking. I didn't expect the big boss to be a little girl. Qin Chu, that's why your master said that dream creators are good at disguising themselves. Su Yu, that's right, they are indeed very cunning. We have to be more careful. Now that 2 of the 4 dream creators are dead, it's only a matter of time before you leave the dream world. Qin Chu, why do you say we're leaving? What about you? As expected, Qin Chu grasped the key point. Su Yu was stunned for a moment before replying with a voice message. Are you stupid? Of course I'm going back with you. Qin Chu, Su Yu, no matter what it is, we'll solve it together. Don't hide it from us. Su Yu, alright, don't be so sentimental. It's as if we're lovers. I can't stand this. Qin Chu, although 2 dream creators are dead now, our situation is getting more and more difficult in the future. Because Linya is the enemy on the surface, Xiaoling and Granny are also intruders, so it's easy to guess. Next, there are 2 more dream creators. They might be hiding among us, so it's even more difficult to find them. My master said that our time is limited. If we can't find them, we're finished. Also, those 2 dream creators must know about Linya and Xiaoling's deaths. When the time comes, they might hide even deeper and stab us in the back. So, we have to be very careful from now on. Qin Chu, do you have any good ideas? Su Yu, of course we have to gather everyone and live together. Your South Hill Manor is big, so I suggest we move to your house. When we spend time together, the dream creators will definitely reveal their flaws. Chapter 4477. Qin Chu, your idea is good, but it's also very dangerous. If we're under the same roof as the dream creator, our lives will be in danger at all times. Su Yu, that's why we have to observe closely. Once he makes a move, his identity will be exposed. Chin Chu, okay, I agree. I'll discuss it with Mian later. Suyu, just protect Mian well. It's best if you don't leave her side. As for the rest, leave it to me. After Chin Chu and Suyu contacted each other, the two men decided to start living together at the last moment. Only when they were under the same roof would they know who was human and who was ghost. Inside Suyu's private mansion. When En came back from grocery shopping, he saw a shocking scene. His goddess Lu Yen was wearing a white cotton nightgown and had long black hair. She was sitting at the dining table and eating with a face so beautiful that it could topple cities. There was only a plate of egg fried rice on the dining table. Suyu sat across from Lu Yen, and the two of them seemed to be talking about something. Goddess Lu Yen, you're awake. Ha 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 ha. That's great, and was so excited that he almost threw away the vegetables in his hand. You're back. Lu Yen smiled. When his goddess smiled, and felt like all the flowers in the world had bloomed. Hey. You've just recovered from a serious illness. How can you only eat egg fried rice? It's not nutritious. And slapped her and quickly took away the egg fried rice in front of Lu Yen. But your boss only knows how to make this. Lu Yen looked at Suyu sadly. Miss Lu, it's good enough to have egg fried rice, okay? Even your sister hasn't eaten my egg fried rice. Suyu rolled his eyes at Lu Yen, telling her to be content. No, you can't eat this. It's not nutritious. And shook his head. Masterin, this is a dream. You can't even taste shit. Why are you still competing with me? What's the point? Suyu couldn't help but laugh. Suyu, aren't you disgusting? Lu Yen glared at Suyu. No matter if it's a dream or reality, my goddess Lu Yen must eat well. Give me a few minutes and I'll cook you a bowl of nutritious noodles. Then En took away Lu Yan's fried rice with eggs and rushed into the kitchen with the groceries he had bought. However, judging from the way Suyu talked to Lu Yen, she knew that Suyu had told Lu Yen everything. While Lu Yen was in a coma, she missed a lot of things. Now, Linya was dead, and so was the second dream creator. According to Master Wu, there were only 2 dream creators left. They had the advantage in numbers, so this wasn't a difficult task. Suyu, where's my sister? Is she okay? Lu Yen asked. Yeah, Mian's in a good state of mind, and the baby's fine. It's just that in the dream, time was messed up, so the baby didn't come out after the due date. But in the real world, it's not due date yet. Lu Yen nodded and didn't say anything. Then, Lu Yan's watch rang. She got up and walked to the balcony to answer the call. She didn't know if it was Chin Chu, the professor, or Xiao Fei. Suyu, on the other hand, went into the kitchen and watched and busy himself. Masterin, don't waste your time on her. She can't be with you. Not to mention that she has a fiancé, even if she doesn't, she's not a woman you can control. Boss, did you contact Miss Han in the real world? Suyu was stunned. No. Then did you contact Miss Han in your dream? No, Suyu said. Then Miss Han's confession to you must have happened in the dream, right? Miss Han didn't enter the dream, so the dream is fake, that's right. Suyu nodded. But whether it's in the dream or the real world, it doesn't change the fact that Miss Han likes you. And cleverly avoided Chin Chu's question and threw him a difficult question. Chapter 4478. Ahem, and bluntly mentioned that Han Yueyao liked Suyu, which made Suyu feel a little awkward, even in a dream. So, boss, what are your plans after you go back? And didn't know that Suyu couldn't go back, so he was still thinking about his future. I don't have any plans, Suyu said perfunctorily. Boss, you can't be like this. You're already in your 30s. How can you not get married and have children? You'll be letting Lord Su and the others down. Lorden, your noodles are almost cooked. Suyu's reminder interrupted him. He quickly went to make the vegetable noodles he made for his goddess. Then, and walked out with the freshly made noodles. Suyu knew that An liked Lu Yen and knew that it was impossible for them to be together. But since An was willing to stay with Lu Yen, it meant that he enjoyed every second he spent with her. How could Suyu, the boss, not agree? So, Suyu took the opportunity to go upstairs and leave the restaurant on the first floor to An and Lu Yen. Perhaps because Lu Yen had just woken up, her face wasn't very red and was a little pale. But it still couldn't hide her beauty. The nightgown she was wearing was found by Suyu at home. Of course, he knew that this was a dream. As long as you thought there was something here, it would definitely be there. So, when Xingro stayed here for a short time, he thought there was still something left, so he took it out for Lu Yen to wear. Goddess Lu Yen, the noodles are ready. You can call me Lu Yen. I'm not a goddess, more like a murderous demon. Lu Yen smiled slightly. Every time An saw Lu Yen smile, he felt sweet in his heart. Then, he placed a big bowl of noodles on the table. He also made 2 plates of pickled vegetables. It was a perfect combination. You made this? Lu Yen looked at the noodles in surprise. Although it was hot noodles, it looked, smelled, and looked delicious. I just added some more vegetables and fried an egg on top. But this is a dream. My boss said that no matter how delicious the food is, you won't be able to taste it. So, you'll have to bear with it for now. Don't listen to Suyu's nonsense. He can't tell because there's something wrong with his taste buds. Everything I eat tastes good. Then, Lu Yen lowered her head and began to eat the noodles. His appearance was extremely valiant, and there was not the slightest bit of arrogance in him. She would never pose for photos like an internet celebrity, fearing that others would think that she looked bad from a certain angle. Lu Yen was a woman who lived on the edge of a knife. Although she was a woman, she had lived like a man all these years. This was what An admired the most about Lu Yen. Goddess Yen, you've always been my #1 idol, huh? Who's your second idol? Lu Yen asked as she ate. Of course it's my boss. Oh right, there's also President Qin and Huomin. The 3 of them are tied for second in my heart. What do you admire about them? Lu Yan's questions were always sharp. My boss. I've been with him for many years. I know all the good things about him, and I agree with him as a person. President Qin and President Hua have amazing IQ and EQ. They're so fast that they're miles ahead of us. Ha! You're all godlike existences that mortals like us can't catch up to. Don't think so badly of yourself. In this world, no 2 leaves are the same. So, no matter what, you'll always be unique. When Lu Yen spoke properly, she was really eloquent. Every word was like chicken soup for the soul, which made An very excited. Goddess Lu Yen, are you satisfied with your current life? Do you feel proud that you're the top goddess in the mercenary world? And took the opportunity to interview the goddess in his heart. Chapter 4479. After hearing An's words, Lu Yen thought about it seriously for a while. Then, with her chopsticks in her mouth, she looked up at the ceiling at a 45-degree angle and thought about it seriously. Then, she said in an extremely serious tone, to tell you the truth, I wanted to live my life as the woman in Big Brother's heart, but unexpectedly, I became the big brother in women's hearts. And, pfft. Ha 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 ha. Usually, when Lu Yen wasn't in the mood to kill, she was always in a funny state. And suddenly remembered that Lu Yen had come to Sea City for a stroll. Then, she followed him around and caused a lot of trouble. Lu Yen had also taken care of a lot of hooligans. She used a funny phrase that was popular on the internet to describe herself. It was not an exaggeration, and it was quite appropriate. What are you laughing at? I'm serious. Lu Yen looked at An. You're right. There's nothing wrong with that. But don't you think that the woman in Big Brother's heart is just a clingy puppet? Big Brother in women's hearts is the peerless king? And began to flatter. What's the use of being a king? When he's being hunted down, he'll piss his pants. It's useless. On the surface, he'll never be truly glorious. In fact, like my sister, he'll live a down-to-earth life, work in the hospital, and treat patients. These are the truly valuable people. As for me, I'm at most a killing machine. Lu Yen smiled faintly. I'm sorry, goddess. I poked your sore spot. And blamed himself. Don't say those useless things to me. I've been as big-hearted as a pumpkin all these years. Why would I care what you say? I was just lamenting. Don't think too much. Okay, eat it while it's hot. There's more if it's not enough. And felt that to be able to sit opposite Lu Yen and watch his goddess eat at a close distance. It could really be described with 4 words, a feast for the eyes. If Goddess Lu Yen stayed here forever, how much would it be? Of course, he could only think about it himself. He thought that Lu Yen would stay here for the night and rest since she had just woken up. Unexpectedly, in the evening, Xiao Fei came. Xiao Fei arrived. He drove a black Maybach S680 and only brought 2 men with him. Compared to before, he was much more low-key. Although Xiao Fei had never returned to the family and had not officially taken over the position of family head. But over the years, he had nurtured many forces and trusted subordinates in his family. He was still wearing a navy blue Russian-style military uniform. The buttons in the front were all made of platinum. It was extremely noble and luxurious. She always had short silver hair, which was always so dazzling in the darkness. When Xiao Fei came, so you didn't receive any advance notice. Lu Yen didn't seem to know either. So when she saw Xiao Fei standing in the living room, Lu Yen froze. She was wearing a white nightgown and holding a cup with a cartoon printed on it. Just as he was about to get some water from the water dispenser, unexpectedly, before she reached the water dispenser, she saw Xiao Fei standing at the door. In that instant, their eyes met. He seemed to have a lot to say. Lu Yen was about to speak when Xiao Fei strode over. He held Lu Yen tightly in his arms. Yen, it's so good to see you again. Xiao Fei's personality was a little similar to Qin Chu's. He didn't like to express himself. He wasn't good at sweet talking, but he would prove it with his actions. Therefore, it was obvious that he had been holding these words in his heart for a long time. Who knew how long he had been looking for Lu Yen? He had almost searched the entire earth. How did you know I was here? Lu Yen reached out and hugged Xiao Fei's waist. Chapter 4480. Brother-in-law told me. Brother-in-law really has a big mouth. Lu Yen hugged Xiao Fei with a smile, feeling warm in her heart. At this moment, and walked downstairs and said, Goddess Lu Yen, if you're hungry tonight, tell me. I'll cook internet-famous turkey noodles for you. Don't you like spicy food? The noodles are so spicy that you'll start doubting your life. Before An could finish his sentence, he stopped abruptly. Because he saw his goddess being hugged in someone's arms. This situation was really awkward. Lu Yen quickly pushed Xiao Fei away, feeling a little embarrassed. Let me introduce you, this is Xiao Fei, Lu Yen said. Yeah, I know. He's the fiancé of the goddess. And scratched his head with a smile. Thank you for taking care of Yen. Xiao Fei nodded slightly to express his gratitude. You're welcome. Dr. Hua is so close to us. Goddess Lu Yen is Dr. Hua's sister and my idol. I have to take good care of her. Where's Suyu? Lu Yen asked him. My boss went out. He's been acting mysterious recently. I don't know where he went. He didn't say, oh, when he comes back, tell him that I'm going to my sister's place. Okay. Let's go. Lu Yen glanced at Xiao Fei. As soon as she finished speaking, Xiao Fei picked her up horizontally. Then, he carried her out of the door. Actually, Lu Yen knew that Xiao Fei didn't mean to show off their love in front of him. He must have known that Lu Yen had just woken up and hadn't recovered yet, so he did this. However, when An saw this, he did feel quite uncomfortable, even though he knew that he was nothing. He didn't even have the right to have a crush on her, he still felt bad. It was an indescribable feeling. Just like that, Lu Yen was carried away by Xiao Fei, and was especially sad when he was packing up alone. Especially when he looked at the bed Lu Yen had slept on, it reminded him of the past. Therefore, when Suyu returned, he saw An drinking beer and watching TV alone. Actually, he wasn't in the mood to watch what was on TV. He was just venting his frustrations. "Oh, Master An, why are you drinking alone without me?" Suyu teased. "Let's drink together, boss. Aren't you going to call Lu Yen? I heard she won't get drunk even after 1,000 cups. She's gone." And was even more disappointed when he heard Lu Yan's name. "No wonder you look like you've lost your soul. Alright, then I'll accompany you for a few drinks." Suyu sat down beside An. "Mr. An, you and Lu Yen aren't the same kind of people. You can't make her stay. It's normal for her to leave. Even Mian can't make her stay, let alone us." Suyu wanted to comfort Xiaoan and make him feel better. "I know, boss, I know. My heart feels a little empty, then I'll drink with you. Tomorrow morning, we'll pack up and move to South Hill Manor." We're moving to South Hill Manor?" An was stunned. "Yeah, we'll move there. It'll be easier for us to observe who the hidden dream creator is. This is serious business." Suyu felt like he was in a dream. He kept reminding himself of his purpose for coming back. Finding all the dream creators and killing them was his only goal this time. "Yeah, I think it's fine." And pursed his lips and snickered. "Of course you say it's fine. You'll be able to see Lu Yen again if you stay at South Hill Manor, right?" Suyu immediately saw through the kid's thoughts. At South Hill Manor, Lu Yan's arrival caused the atmosphere in the family to reach its peak. "Sis, brother-in-law. Dad. I'm back." Lu Yen looked serious as soon as she entered. Chapter 4481. "Sis, brother-in-law." Uncle Lu, Xiao Fei greeted him politely. Xiao Fei had originally looked for Ian and the others to convince them to work together to find Lu Yen. Later, he received a call from Qin Chu, who wanted to go to the North Pole to help. However, he was chased by some random people and didn't manage to go. He was forced to land in Kenya and had been dealing with some gangsters and drug dealers in Africa. Later, when everyone returned, Qin Chu contacted Xiao Fei and told him that Lu Yen had woken up. Xiao Fei rushed back without stopping and finally arrived at Sea City in the evening. On the phone, Qin Chu briefly told Xiao Fei about the dream. When they were in the car, Lu Yen told him the details. Therefore, Xiao Fei now knew about the dream creators and the incubus. Although the twins were fictional, they did exist. However, they were still on vacation with Tang Chuan and Qin Ning in the United States and had not returned yet. Therefore, there were only the 5 of them at South Hill Manor. Suyu and Qin Chu informed Wei Liao, Jiang Xiaowei, Gao Ran, Zhu Lingling, Rick, and Cici respectively. They planned to gather at South Hill Manor tomorrow morning and spend a few days together before they could find the real dream creator. Suyu and Qin Chu agreed that the dream creator must be among them. After all, there were no newcomers. Ling and Granny were dead. Linya, Messiah, Layla, and the monsters created by Linya had all disappeared. At the dining table at South Hill Manor, the professor placed everyone's plates on the table and then served the food that he had prepared. There was whole wheat toast, German white sausages, roasted pork knuckles, and vegetable salad. They drank soda water. It seemed like the top professors in the medical field paid attention to health. It's not easy to eat food made by Dad. Even in my dream, I have to eat more to make up for it. Lu Yen couldn't help but feel excited. You really don't want to lose out. You even took advantage of me in your dream. The professor smiled dotingly. Actually, it's good to be in the dream. If it weren't for this dream, my sister and I wouldn't have had so much time to spend with you. So, from another perspective, I'm quite grateful to the dream creator for giving the three of us a good time to spend together. There was nothing wrong with Lu Yan's words, but when one thought about it carefully, it did make one's heart ache. Daughter and father, this was such a close relationship. However, sometimes Lu Yan wouldn't see her father even once in a few years because of her special status. Therefore, every time this happened, Huamian would feel sorry for his sister. She picked up a kiwi and put it on Lu Yan's plate. Yan, you've just recovered from a serious illness. Take good care of yourself and eat more nutritious food. This is a... It is. Look at my memory, no wonder they say that pregnant women become dumb for 3 years, I'm really... Huamian slapped her forehead and laughed at herself. It's okay, honey. I'll be silly with you. Mr. Qin put his arm around Huamian's shoulder and comforted him gently. Io, every time you two show off your love, you're so strong. If I were single, I would be tortured to death by you. Fortunately, I'm not. Lu Yan moved closer to Xiao Fei, who was sitting beside her, with a smile on her face. Uncle Lu, sis, brother-in-law. After we escape from the dream, I want to marry Yan. Xiao Fei's proposal came out of nowhere. Everyone was taken aback by his words. Chapter 4482. Everyone was stunned by Xiao Fei's sudden appearance. Ahem. Damn it. You sure know how to pick a good time to propose. You're in a precarious situation. Lu Yan kicked Xiao Fei under the table. I know. That's why I'm proposing. Otherwise, I'm afraid I won't have another chance. Hearing Xiao Fei's words, Professor Lu chuckled. Xiao Fei, have you thought it through? Do you really want to marry our she-devil? Hey, Dad. What kind of father would call his daughter a she-devil? Watch your words, Lu Yan reminded him with a glare. I've thought about it. I've thought about it for many years. Yan is the only woman I want to be my wife, Xiao Fei said firmly. Yan, what do you think? The professor looked at his daughter and asked. I'm at a disadvantage. He's not as good-looking as I am, not as rich as I am. He doesn't have as many subordinates as I do. He doesn't have as many kills as I do. His status in the underworld is lower than mine. Anyway, I'm better than him in every aspect. If he marries me, I'll thank him. Yes, I've always thought it would be my honor to marry you. So, Miss Lu Yan, will you marry me? Xiao Fei tilted his head and looked at Lu Yan with a smile. Lu Yan's heart skipped a beat when she saw the tenderness in his eyes. Yan, Xiao Fei proposed to you so seriously. Hurry up and give him an answer. Huamin was anxious. Don't worry, sis. I have to stay calm. Besides, he proposed to me so casually. How can I be so careless when he proposes to me? Lu Yan had always been domineering and had bullied Xiao Fei for so many years. So, no one was surprised that she would say something like this. Qin Chu put his arm around Huamin's shoulder and looked at Xiao Fei sympathetically. He thought to himself that his wife was gentle and open-minded. If Huamian was like Lu Yan, things would be troublesome. What else do you want? Xiao Fei asked with a smile. Don't all proposals get down on one knee? Lu Yan raised her chin. Xiao Fei immediately got up and knelt before Lu Yan on one knee. Yan, don't go overboard. If Fei runs away because of you, you won't be able to get married. The professor tried to scare his daughter. Lu Yan said smugly, let him go, Dad. Xiao Fei can only marry me in this lifetime. Otherwise, I'll hunt him down all over the world. You are indeed a female hooligan. You are so overbearing even to your own man. Huamin laughed. Sis, you're not allowed to slander me, okay. I won't say bad things about you. After all, you're already bad enough. You'll never be able to clear your name. Huamin tilted his head and leaned against Qin Chu, watching the drama between the two little rivals. Can you guys stop arguing and take care of me? Xiao Fei interrupted. Huamin and Qin Chu both laughed. The professor also shook his head as he watched the group of children fooling around. What's the point of kneeling? I don't have any flowers. Lu Yan rolled her eyes at Xiao Fei and continued to make things difficult for him. Flowers? Yes. Then, as if by magic, a rose suddenly appeared in Xiao Fei's hand. Lu Yan was pleasantly surprised. Before anyone could speak, Xiao Fei said shyly, I didn't have enough time to buy one, so I took your flowers. Blushing, Lu Yan took the rose. Then, she coughed and raised her voice. Then, where's my ring? You're tuning into the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.